Have you seen this FBI uncovers creepy home biolab packed with mystery vials in Vegas raid? Let me read. This is from Mario Nawfal's site, and then I looked. It's real. FBI agents stormed Las Vegas residence, discovering refrigerators stuffed with unlabeled vials of unknown liquid, suggesting a clandestine biological operation. The property links to J.B. Zhu, a Chinese national already facing charges for flooding the market with unapproved COVID and HIV test kits. This raid echoes his prior California fiasco, where authorities found pathogen labels for Ebola and tuberculosis alongside 1,000 neglected mice. Source: Futurism. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did. And they're saying the CDC has gone in and tested some of this stuff, and they found 20 different things inside these little vials. And they're saying they found HIV, TB, that there was one fridge or something that had like a sticker on the outside that said Ebola. So it's a little crazy.
Well, I mean,
very concerning.
So, I mean, you're spun up on the Homeland plot. Could this, I mean, it says Chinese national, which is not generally what you cover, but I mean, but when I interviewed our mutual friend Jane, she was talking about biological weapons that were being developed in caves. And then she actually didn't even want to go too in depth on how nasty that stuff was, because she didn't want to create a fear campaign. You know,
yeah.
So could this be?
That's a complicated thing. So at least from the ones the CDC has put out, it does not match up with the ones in Al-Qaeda's labs. So Al-Qaeda's labs, it's like sarin, anthrax, modified fentanyl. And that's at least not been any of the ones from this house. So I do believe Al-Qaeda has similar type of things on U.S. soil, but I have not seen anything to say that is an Al-Qaeda one. But yeah, I'd be very concerned because one of Al-Qaeda's is in Nevada.
One of what?
Al-Qaeda's is in, like, one of their labs is in Nevada.
Holy shit. How do you know that?
Because obviously we've been collecting on the plot and we heard about it.
Where are the other labs? How many labs are there?
So I don't know how many labs there are total, and not every lab has a chemical in it. That one does. Some labs are just to make like a suicide vest or IEDs, but unfortunately, some of the bombs do have chemical components. One is just the fact that some of them are using chemicals as the detonator. So they're binary. So, you know, like a glow stick. So there's a chemical in the vest and there's a chemical in a syringe, for example. You insert the syringe, the two chemicals mix together, it starts the detonation. So some bombs start that way. The best example is the aviation plot bombs. And then, unfortunately, Al-Qaeda is also saying they put a caustic chemical in some of these bombs. So like, let's say they set it off on a subway. So if you don't die from the explosion, you will die from whatever this caustic chemical is if you don't get airflow quick enough.
Wow.
And that's why we don't want to alarm people, because when you start talking chemicals,
that's frightening,
it gets people very
and
scared.
Also fucking genius.
No.
I mean, unfortunately, I mean, to just have that kind of contingency plan for the people that are just victims and not dead victims, not KIA'd. I mean,
and remember, now it's then a hazmat situation, so law enforcement can't immediately respond. Most cities don't even really have any kind of hazmat response. So now you delay the entire emergency response too, which is also very smart.
What are you doing in the city still? Are you nuts?
I don't really live in a city.
Okay, I mean, I've never been.
Kind of knows where I live, so it doesn't really matter what house I'm in.
I would move if I was you, but man, have you been tracking this Epstein stuff?
I mean, I've been reading, you know, as people put out. I haven't been going into the mock-up. Did you see there's a whole mock-up Gmail? It's genius.
A what?
So someone made this website. It's like JMail.com, and you can sign in like you're in his account, and you can scroll through the emails as they're dated, go through the photos. It's all an exact copy.
Are you shitting
Yeah, so
me?
you can search in the search bar like you're searching your emails, so you can type like the name you're looking for and it'll pull the emails. Yeah, so it's a whole exact copy of it. It's really interesting.
What is this? Where is this?
It's called JMail.
JMail.
And it's just this copy of Epstein's Gmail.
Holy
Yeah.
shit,
So
dude.
people are really creative now.
What's some
and
of
can
the
throw
stuff you've seen in
together.
there? What are you seeing? I've seen a lot.
I know. I mean, I've seen a lot. The one issue, as you know, as people who collect intelligence, not everything you're going to see is true. There's tips. Obviously, people flagging me on some of the terrorism stuff. Like he put out one and it says, Turkey is supporting al-Nusra Front. That was 2013. We knew that in 2012. So he's saying real factual things in a lot of cases that are in the public at the time, but a lot of people are thinking, oh, he's giving up all these secrets. And it's like, guys, he's rambling on to every single person about world events. And so, but then they think he's a decision maker on those world events. So I think that's been a discrepancy we've seen. Another one in the same email, he brings up ISIS and how the U.S. kind of didn't do anything against ISIS when they went after. Remember in Palermo when they went in, ISIS did, and they started destroying all the antiquities. Remember, there was one of these famous archaeologists, and they tortured him to death because they had hidden some of them, and he refused to give up the location. So anyway, it was horrible, big news. U.S. never went in and did anything, so he brought up how they didn't then. But then there's no context. In 2013, we had no ISIS strategy. We all know this. Remember, Obama told the CIA, I don't want to hear about ISIS. So when CIA would send their presidential daily briefs to Obama, like, they could not include anything on ISIS. So people forget what was happening in real time. So now they're like, oh, U.S. was working with ISIS. Like, no, we just had no strategy because the president didn't give a damn about them. So there are a lot of things, I think, missing in context. I think the thing that matters most, though, is they had plenty of evidence that he trafficked children.
I mean, I think, what do you make of this shit, though?
It's so frustrating.
When it dropped, and I mean, I felt like I was in an algorithm fucking jail because it was it still is, every single post coming through there.
Yeah.
It's this person was eating babies and this person was raping kids and this person got an STD and gave it to his wife and wanted some magic fucking antibiotic to slip her. Bill Gates.
She should go back again.
But
she should get more money for her divorce.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm serious. That's
but
the first thing I
what do
said.
you make of it? Like, so I've asked you ever since you started coming on the show, I've been asking you, what do you think about these Epstein files? And I think it gets into, I think it gets into why we were maybe in the Middle East, some of the stuff with Iran that's going on. I mean, it's looking more and more. I don't even know what to call it other than fucking blackmail. Does it make you question any of the stuff that you've been told or that you were diving into about? I mean, I fucking hate Iran too. I hate them too. I don't think we should be interfering right now. But because of all this shit, I mean, does this make you think any different about Middle East policy and what's going on over there and who's really pulling all the strings?
Well, if you read Epstein's files, the person pulling the strings is Qatar. I mean, Qatar's referenced 2,000 times in it. So I think people are choosing the ones they want to read and highlighting those, if that makes sense, instead of understanding. So Qatar is in control of the Middle East, right? That's the problem.
Hold on. What does it say? What does it say?
Well, it's like one of the main princes was really close to Epstein. But the thing is, people are making... So was the former prime minister of fucking Israel. Well, that's the thing. So the problem with this that people are not understanding is, unfortunately, the elites are extremely perverted. So I've known this for a long time. So none of this is surprising to me. Like, you stay away from the elites because they are not good people. They're in the positions they are in because they're corrupt. They commit these crimes. They're involved in child trafficking. They're involved in corruption. Like, I have always viewed these people this way, if that makes sense. So to me, this is that universe. So for them to act like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein is like blackmailing them all and controlling them, these people do this every day of their life, Shawn. You didn't need Jeffrey Epstein to like lure them in to sleep with a 12-year-old. They're doing it in other locations too. Now that gets ignored completely. They're not just doing it on Jeffrey Epstein's island.
I would not disagree with you on that.
They're doing it in the Middle East. They're doing it in Thailand.
That doesn't mean they're on camera. We're on the other places that they go. They're all on fucking camera here.
I just think it's way more common, unfortunately, than people realize. And I don't actually think he was doing it purely to blackmail him. I think he was doing it for influence, money, relationships. Like, a lot of these people are his friends, Shawn. So I think everybody's calling it an intelligence operation. None of these documents show that at all, first off. No,
Well,
no. Have you seen proof that he is an asset for an intelligence organization?
I have not seen 100%
it's people's
proof,
assumptions. There's a picture. He's in this room, and it's there's all these crates that say CIA, and people say, "Oh, it proves he's in CIA." That's not a room of CIAs. That's a room if you work for a company and you're making clothing, you can only make certain clothes to send to the United States and Europe markets, and you mark them CIA. He's literally in a clothing factory, and those are the bins with the clothing approved to sell to the U.S. government, like certified industrial standards or whatever it's called. But because they say CIA said, look, he's in a CIA office and CIA is marked all over. It's like, that's not a CIA location. So the problem is people are reading little pieces, and then they're making assumptions and assessments without the totality of circumstances. And remember, Trump said this was his concern with the Epstein files. Because think about this. One whole thing is this giant spreadsheet. I don't know if you saw this. And the spreadsheet was of you could call into this tip line and give tips on Epstein. And that's the one where they're cutting off feet. Now, when I was on the Benghazi committee, they would let me go through that spreadsheet because I didn't have to answer the calls. But they say, "Sarah, look at it. You worked in Benghazi." I would say 90% of the people that called into our Benghazi tip line when I was on the committee were crazy lunatics, and nothing they said was true. Now, you have this entire spreadsheet there, and then people assume everything in there is true. So we have to be a little careful with that. Now, 100% Jeffrey Epstein trafficked children, raped them. Unfortunately, with some of these contacts, there's people in his contacts who run organizations who take care of orphan children. They protect children without parents. I mean, it sounds like some of those children were coming from those locations, which is a problem because he's targeting children without means. So that's why everyone is like, "Oh, well, why do all these women not come forward?" Well, years ago, they had to sign NDAs. They had to sign NDAs because they had no money to get the kind of lawyers you need to go up against the elite. So they take, what, 100K, that shuts them up. And that's why you victimize poor people, because they have no platform to ever come after you.
I didn't even know about the NDAs. We just did this thing with this Christian camp Kanakuk. Have you heard about this?
I mean, I heard of your show covered it.
Same thing. Settlement, NDAs. Can never talk about the sexual abuse ever again. They're trying to, they sent me a cease and desist. They want to sue me. They want a public apology. I said, sorry, I don't negotiate with pedophiles.
Yeah, obviously. But why do we have a law system that someone can sign a paper from when they were a kid saying something didn't happen, and when they're 40 years old, they can't do anything about it? When you're young, you don't understand the legal system or you don't understand.
Nobody understands the legal system.
Anything. So I find that very, very frustrating, but that's what a lot of these Epstein victims are stuck under. That's why people were hoping Congress were going to read, the list of people who did harm against them on the floor, because Congress doesn't fall under any of those rules. They can actually do that, but none of these women can who sign these NDAs. Like, they'll throw these law firms after them.
So let me ask you this, back to the Epstein stuff, because I love this about you, and I hate this about you. You only go off fact. You don't look you don't look at any context, but I get it from what you used to do. But how would your opinion, let's say hypothetically it comes out that Epstein was a Mossad agent. I think that fucking dude was a Mossad agent. What would that change your opinion about Middle East policy?
I mean, it would, but I haven't seen anything that he's a Mossad agent. And at the end of the day, everything I've seen is what every one of these people do. I know it sounds really horrible. Remember, I have met these world leaders. They're disgusting human beings. I know it's really horrible to say.
No, I mean, you're right.
You don't exactly have to blackmail them. They do these things publicly. They have these sex parties publicly. They bring children in all the time to the Middle East. I don't know why people act like you needed Jeffrey Epstein. There's girls on planes right now going to Saudi, who are teenagers. So I do think people think he's in the control of a universe when he's 1% of a gigantic universe. And that's our problem, because we're letting these people rule us. We're voting them into power, and they are not like us. And we have to get people to understand there's elites and there's us. And you can't just say, oh, this one elite's different than the rest and they're going to save us. No, I'm sorry. Like, you have to push them out in some way, because they will never align with our values, ever.
Yeah, man, it's so fucking bad. I wonder if we even have a country anymore. But
It's so corrupt.
It's
But this is just one angle of the corruption too. I mean, there's thousands of angles, sadly. I mean, they harm people in so many ways all over the world.
Yeah, man. Let's get to what we're here for today. Sarah Adams, former CIA targeting officer with years on the front lines of counterterrorism, known by your call sign, Superbad. Former senior advisor to the U.S. House Select Committee on Benghazi, co-author of Benghazi, Know Thy Enemy, where you and your team identified the masterminds behind the 2012 attacks on our embassy. And now, host of The Watch Floor, the very first podcast to be in the Vigilance Elite Network. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Got you a little something.
Wow, what's this?
Got you a little something.
Wow, this is fancy. Look at that.
100,000 subscribers.
I didn't know they made these type of things. I'm
in
really
1
not
week.
Prepared to be in this industry. But it looks great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The first sign for my studio.
Dude, you've been killing it.
You're my boss now. So does that change, like, this interview?
I'm not your boss.
No, this actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is a little uncomfortable.
You're a woman that cannot be ruled.
There's a power role in your position over there today. Yeah, like, I can't mess up this interview. This is very nice. Thank you. That's
we are honored to have you in the network, and you are killing it. It's awesome.
You.
I knew you would. Your information is just out of this world. It's awesome. But so we got a Patreon account.
Yes.
And
now I'm in it, so I see every
right.
comment. I just let everyone else know that too.
So this is from Roland, Morocco. A lot of intel coming out of Iran now is being provided by the National Council of Resistance in Iran. Can we trust the credibility of the intel due to the NCRI having their own agenda for Iran and the resistance?
Yeah, I mean, just for the viewers, he's referring to MEC. And MEC really was designated for a long time a terrorist organization. It's not exactly aligned with if we want, like, democratic values in a place, but unfortunately MEC has long lobbied in DC, and they have put money in the pockets of a lot of our politicians. So as you can imagine, if you're talking about a free Iran or a post-Ayatollah Iran, you're worried about MEC because they've made all these influences, and you don't really want to watch the country handed to MEC. You want the country to maybe go into some sort of democracy, or even have the king involved, and they put in together some sort of joint sharing government. So there are people who are concerned. When I was on the Hill, I got invited to, it was supposed to be an Iranian cultural event. It was like a holiday that day in Iran. And so I went to it because, there's going to be food. Iranian food is really good, right? Persians make good food. So I was like, okay, I'll go for the food. And the funny thing is I went in there and I was in there about 15 minutes and I realized, oh my gosh, this whole event is hosted by MEC, and it was up on the Hill. So they unfortunately are lobbyists, just like the Taliban are lobbyists. And so you got to watch these people because, like he's saying, well, what about the information coming from them? Of course, then it's influenced. Mm-hmm. So he's making a very good point. You always have to understand where information comes from, so you're not just taking in the influenced information. Now, the good thing with Iran, especially because of Starlink, we are getting ground truth from regular people in Iran. And so we are in a good situation. We don't have to sit and wait around for this group to put out what's happening because of Starlink. When someone can get to it and access it, we are getting, what people are saying on the ground. So that's very, very good.
Interesting. How's our buddy Joe Kent doing?
I mean, I think Joe's doing a really good job. My argument always with Joe Kent is, why do you take someone with his experience and put him in charge of an analytic organization? I actually would like to see Joe Kent in charge of our whole counterterrorism policy, because you know who is. Sebastian Gorka.
Our buddy, Sebastian Gorka.
I know, like you have Joe Kent. Why would you take a guy who never really worked terrorism and put him in the job when you have a Joe Kent? So that's
Here's
what
why.
frustrates
Here's
me.
why. You want to know why? Because Joe Kent has a fucking mind of his own.
I know.
That's why.
He's not gonna.
He cannot be controlled. He's true to himself, and that's why the fuck he's not in charge of all of it.
Yeah.
I can't say the other for the other guy.
Yeah, and so I find it frustrating because someone like him could be a lot more effective, and they have him in charge of NCTC. So maybe we'll get lucky and they'll expand his role, because I do think he could really go and kick some ass.
I know, man. I know. I talk to him still, but I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, we don't want
I know you do too.
we don't want to throw around people's gossip. Well, the thing is I've always shared information on this Homeland plot all across the government. But as you know, different pieces of the government action it very different. Some do nothing. Some give you a hard time about it. Some are supportive. And so it's very, very frustrating.
Really? Who's supportive?
Well, to be honest.
I haven't found that department yet.
Well, to be honest, I feel the DNI has been somewhat supportive. I've actually felt Customs and Border Protection has been very supportive, and ATF has actually been supportive.
Wow.
Who hasn't been supportive, though, is FBI, who FBI is in charge of finding these terrorists on U.S. soil. So FBI is the biggest hurdle to stopping the U.S. Homeland plot, which is crazy. Because they should be the biggest ally to stopping the plot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It's the FBI, dude.
I know, but it's like, you really don't want to stop a massive terrorist plot. You really just want to find these dinky dumbasses on the internet and say, we caught a guy who's inspired. Like, how do you have such little respect in your job that you only go for cannon fodder?
Everybody's just looking for a pat on the back.
I know, it's so pathetic.
Nobody really gives a fuck.
They should put me in charge of that organization.
They should.
It would be ended in a week.
They should. Good, then we only have a week of not watching the Watch for. So
I could come in and live stream while I fight people.
All right, let's move. So, funding the Taliban.
Yes, still happening.
Still happening. We're. You know what I'm getting tired of is watching all these politicians
lie,
use it, and bat it around on their fucking X account.
I know.
It's just, you know what? I'm fucking sick of it. It's just like, just shut up and get it done. How about do that?
In my congresswoman,
it took what, 36 fucking hours to withdraw completely from Afghanistan, leaving hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment, countless lives fucking killed, our allies being executed, having their heads chopped off, their balls chopped off, fucking murdered in front of their wife and kids, and then they murdered their wife and kids. That took 36 hours to make this decision. We're funding those people. We've been trying to get this pushed through for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
2 years.
Exactly.
And it's still just getting batted around on X. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's bring it up. Let's make it a fucking campaign thing. Let's not do anything about it. I'm fucking sick of this shit, man.
Yeah.
How the fuck does it take 2 years to make a decision to quit funding the Taliban 40 to 80, 87 million, maybe more now, 87 million a week? A week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple hiccups in this, and it's so frustrating. So first off, the biggest chunk, the counterterrorism dollars, which is the 47, because the 40 is humanitarian. So the 47 million is in the Doha deal. The problem with the Doha deal is that was a deal brokered by Mike Pompeo and the last Trump administration. So obviously the administration does not want to end the deal because they don't want to make it look like they messed up, even though it's a horrible deal and it should be canceled immediately. So that 40.
So that's what it is. It's ego.
So it's ego.
So we're paying the
Yes.
fucking Taliban.
Yes.
Damn near $100 million a week because somebody doesn't want to hurt their fucking ego and admit that they made a mistake.
Yeah. The
Wow.
other issue is
Wow.
they're basically trying to get us not to talk about it. So like in the summer, Marco Rubio literally told Congress they stopped the money, which wasn't true. And
That
then,
wasn't true?
no, of course it wasn't true.
He lied?
Well, it gets better. So then he goes and tells, I don't know if you saw this a month or two ago, Anna Paulina Luna, who's my congresswoman, that the money stopped and he ended it. She goes out and gives like a press conference. So then I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I actually got really pissed. Because she's like, Marco Rubio said we stopped the money. So I was like, screw it. So I actually put my own resources into collecting the next payment. And that's how I got the January 12th payment that we dropped off in the Doha office, 87 million cash. But I invested my own funds into collecting that payment to prove that was a lie. But can you imagine Americans are having to go overseas and collect intelligence to prove our government's lying to the American people?
How did you find that info?
I collected it myself.
How?
In the Doha Taliban office. So good luck sending the next payment, America. Don't tell Americans you've stopped, because I'm collecting the next payment too. And I'm almost to the point. I think there's actually. Seriously, I'm getting really pissed off because what they do is the money goes there and then it goes out in multiple ways.
Oh, I'm being.
So you can basically hijack it and steal it. So I'm at to the point. I'm like, I might just steal 20 million for fun.
I think that this whole we're not paying our taxes movement is getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. I mean, I saw like the Somali stuff. Oh. You've seen that?
Of course. Remember,
funded the Taliban, funded pretty much all of Somalia and the terrorist organizations that are there.
Remember, that's just our domestic programs that go to people in America. But remember, we also fund the Somali government. So you're only seeing one pot, even when we talk about the programs here and the scams here. We're also just giving billions to a failed state of Somalia. And some of that money goes to Al-Shabaab as well. So the other thing people forget too is there's not just one pocket. So let's talk about the Taliban for a minute. So we talk about, and Legend talks about humanitarian dollars, 40 million. Then, of course, I told you the 47 million in counterterrorism dollars. We fund the Taliban through the UN on top of that, through the World Bank, through IOM, which is migration, World Food Program. You know, the World Food Program, as I said, brings all the food to Al-Qaeda's terrorist camps. So we fund the Taliban in multiple additional buckets in addition to the 87 million a week. So we have to go find every bucket and stop the money to every bucket. I mean, this is going to take years to end this money. It's insane.
Meanwhile, we got people starving on the streets here.
I know.
Our cities are a fucking wasteland. It's just, what happened, man?
Corruption.
What happened?
We put the worst people in our government and they stayed there.
So where are we with this Taliban funding thing? I know it's stuck in the Senate? Or what they voted to vote on it or something. I can't even, it's just like,
I know.
The fuck is
Congress
this?
is a nightmare. So what it was sitting in a committee in the Senate, and they had to prove it to go to the floor. So they finally moved it out of that committee, and now it's going to go to the floor. So we're still waiting then on a full Senate vote.
Who's the one senator that's against this?
So
is it, I can't remember.
Well, it wasn't exactly... There was a couple of senators. The issue was a staff member, and his name is Tom West. So a lot of people know Tom West from during the withdrawal, because at the time he was basically like the U.S. government's official representative to the Taliban. Obviously, the new administration came in, and Tulsi Gabbard pulled his security clearance because he's a snake. He's a Taliban lobbyist. So she's like, you don't need a classified clearance. So then he got picked up by this committee in the Senate, and he now works on the Hill, because that's how our system works. And so he's a huge lobbyist. His wife is actually in a Taliban family. So this is corruption, enriching themselves, all that type of thing. So he's been the huge hiccup in the Senate. But there is also some sort of hiccup, and we don't know who it is, in the White House who's supportive of the Taliban. Because remember,
Gee, I wonder who that could be.
So remember, we have another issue.
The Doha deal was done when?
Exactly. Doha deal's a problem. But remember, besides the Doha deal, what's the other big problem?
Who could be in the White House that has a huge ego that refuses to admit they're wrong about shit?
Yeah.
Gee, I fucking wonder.
Well, that's the other problem, though. We have Americans held by the Taliban. Think about it. Think about the last year. We've heard a lot about saving hostages in Gaza, even when no Americans were left. We had to save, obviously, hostages in Venezuela. When have you heard the administration talk about our Americans in Afghanistan this whole last year? When? One discussion.
Never.
It's insanity. That's a problem because someone in the White House is supportive in some way of the Taliban. Now, I don't know if you saw, but on September 5th, Trump actually signed an executive order, and it was something like state sponsor of wrongful persons. Did you see this? So anyway, it was an executive order to put different pressures on countries holding Americans. It would be like cut off the money you're sending to them, block people with U.S. passports traveling there, etc. So they have this law in the books and they're not using it against the Taliban. Well, why wouldn't you be using it against the Taliban? It was written to get Americans out of wrongful custody. We have 2 Americans alive in Taliban custody, and then we have a third that likely is dead and we need his body returned. So you have a law in place and you can use it in Gaza, you can use it in Venezuela, but you can't use it in Afghanistan. So that's super, super frustrating.
Who are they?
So we have obviously Mahmoud Shah Habibi, who I've told you about. The Al-Qaeda is charging him with the death of its last leader, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri. So he's being tortured and all that type of stuff. And then we have Dennis Cole. He's an older American. So Dennis Cole's been in custody literally the last year. Nobody's hardly said anything about it. Like just last month, his family, I think, started talking about it. But Taliban, I don't even know if they've charged him with anything. So they clearly have no working court system. And then, unfortunately, the last person's Paul Overby. And I don't know if you know, he was a writer and he actually wrote about the first Afghan war. So he put out a book, I think it was like Holy Blood in the 90s, and he wrote about the Soviet Afghan war. Well, he was back over there. This is a long time ago now. He's been in custody or he's deceased for 11 years. So he went back over to do research for his book. He left Afghanistan, traveling to Waziristan to interview Siraj Shadeen Haqqani, who helped capture Mahmoud Shah Habibi, and then he went missing. So they thought originally he was dead. And then do you remember that jerk David Rhodey?
No.
So there was this guy, I swear he purposely got captured by the Haqqani. So American David Rhodey, and he was captured, and then all this stuff went on. These people paid off a bunch of people, and he gets released. So he gets released. Actually, Boone was on the team that picked him up when he got released by the Haqqanis. So people think he was rescued. He wasn't. He was released for a ton of money. So anyway, when he comes out, he says, I saw Paul in custody. So that was about 2019. But there are a lot of people, he's in his 80s now, Paul. So a lot of people think he's deceased. So the U.S. government wants like his remains in his case. So we know 2 are alive for sure. But again, no American knows any of these names, except maybe Habibi, because I've said it a couple of times, but it's very, very frustrating. That's like no one cares. The other part is, so Habibi luckily has a $5 million bounty. There was a $5 million bounty to get Paul Dennis. There's 0 bounty. How do you not have a $5 million bounty to return him if you have a $5 million bounty for the other 2? Our hostage diplomacy is one of the craziest things you've ever seen. There's like no plan. It's all over the place. Terrorists get anything they want.
How can nobody be talking about the fact that Taliban is holding American hostages while we pay them $87 million a week?
And we have a law that can stop the money today, the one passed in September, if they're holding an American.
And the White House is interfering with this too?
Yes. They're allowing this to continue with the Taliban. This weakness towards the Taliban is like one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And remember, one of these Americans is literally being tortured. Like they've had to bring him to the hospital to revive him to continue his torture.
Holy shit.
I mean, it's one of the most frustrating things. And then even a lot of people in the government are like, we don't know if he's still alive. Dude's still alive, but he's barely hanging on because you guys won't fucking make a deal to get him released.
I hope you do an episode on this.
It's super frustrating.
It's just...
I mean, the whole hostage diplomacy, you really should bring some people in, some of these families or some people go do the negotiations. It is an entire train wreck. And we knew this years ago. Do you remember Kayla Mueller? Mm-hmm. So she was the one, the head of ISIS was holding her, right? I think it was Baghdadi. And she was unfortunately probably his sex slave or whatever. And the State Department told the family, don't say she's kidnapped. And they waited forever. And then they made all this stuff. And she ended up dying, right? And then the family came out after and said all the crazy stuff that went wrong. Bob Levinson's another great example who died in Iranian custody. You know, they even passed the law because that went so bad. So hostage diplomacy is just insane. Like, we do not do this properly. And remember, these are Americans that we're trying to save in these places.
Dude, I just... You know, Oh,
When
man.
we gave those billions to Iran, we literally didn't make a contingent on Bob Levinson, who was alive then, being released. So we're handing this cash to all these people as they hold Americans.
Let's move on. Let's move on to, you did a video on the most dangerous influencers. I didn't get to watch that one yet. What is, but I know my name wasn't on the list.
No.
So.
No, these are really dumb people, Shawn. So these are the influencers, like
Again, my name wasn't on the list.
They must not have a lot of followers to be the ones. So these are the ones Taliban actually reaches out to and says, will you come to Afghanistan and film to help promote us? And so then the Taliban brings them into the country, like the Haqqani networks, Badri 313 escorts them around. And then they set up all these little sites. They set up like this fake little photo station for them. And one, they set up a little coffee shop. They empty everyone out of the mosque and bring them in, even though women can't go in the mosque. And so they film this fake version of Afghanistan, and then these influencers put out, oh, it's so nice there, it's so safe. It's like, please don't tell your dumb followers Afghanistan is safe. I do not want to go rescue more Americans who are being tortured in Afghanistan, who your government does not care about getting released.
This is happening everywhere. China's doing this too.
Yeah, it's very smart because, I mean, tourism is super important. I don't know if you just saw in Venezuela this week, the new leader, she was his deputy, put out an announcement, hey, I made this new head of tourism, and it's like a young influencer. So these countries know we need these people to kind of paint us in a different picture, get the younger generations to look at us in a different way. It's a really good influence campaign, not just done by terrorists, done by nation states.
You see all the messaging? Is all the messaging just cookie cutter?
Yeah, and it's
all exactly
positive.
the same.
You're almost giving like talking points. And then in at least in Afghanistan, there's a lot of things you can't film, you can't say, you can't take pictures of, tons of restrictions.
Man.
I mean, just like if you were going to go to China, same thing.
Propaganda, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
If you listen to this show, you know I care about performance and what goes into my body. We should have that same standard for our dogs, but usually feeding them fresh food means a freezer full of mess and prep time. You usually have to choose healthy or easy. That's why I switched to Sundays for Dogs. It was founded by a veterinarian, Dr. Tori Waxman, who got tired of seeing premium foods full of synthetics. Sundays is air-dried real food, meat, fruits, and veggies made in a human-grade kitchen. Compared to kibble, Sundays invests 50 times more in its ingredients to ensure premium quality. No weird fillers, no synthetics. And the best part, you just scoop and serve. No thawing, no prep, no mess. Since making the switch, I've noticed my dog has more consistent energy levels and a much softer coat. It's real food that fuels his best days. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/SRS50 and get 50% off your first order. Or you can use code SRS50 at checkout. That's 50% off your first order. It's sundaysfordogs.com/SRS50.
Hey guys, Sarah Adams here. Tune in Tuesday, February 17th, right here live on Patreon at 2 Central. We'll be discussing my latest visit to the Shawn Ryan Show, as well as this week's intel brief on IRGC's Unit 840, one of their covert action arms. We'll host a Q&A at the end, so see you then.
All right, Sarah, we were kind of talking about it a little bit at the beginning, but what is the update on the Homeland plot?
Yeah, so should I just give a quick overview of the plot? Because I think that'd be helpful. So the first thing is the objectives. So the objectives are very simple. They're viewed a little more positively by Al-Qaeda, so don't exactly think revenge. So the first objective is, of course...
What do you mean they're viewed positively by
I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
Because we view it as revenge, right? You would say this is a revenge plot, but I want to explain how they're framing it.
Okay.
So they say part of it is to honor Osama bin Laden. To us, we'd say that's in revenge, but to their fighters are saying, hey, you're going to carry this out in his honor. See how they make that positive? Another thing is we're going to honor all the Muslims who were detained over the last 20 years in counterterrorism operations by like the US military or the CIA or the FBI. So you're going to honor those people. And when you're training, they tell you they were unjustly detained. Because they say, look, I'm famous. I'm a senior Al-Qaeda commander. I wasn't in prison, but they picked these guys, 30 and 40-year-old random people in America and throw them in prison. And that's what they're playing with these recruits. It's very, very smart because they aren't detained. The last piece is all these fighters and mujahideen came before you. Unfortunately, things went wrong and not all their plots came to fruition. Like just bad things, right? All is well at the time. You need to honor them by bringing their past failures to success. Right now, it's on you and on your generation, right, to finish this. So it's very, very, very smart. So that's how they labeled out their objectives. Well, think about how scary the last one can be. You're going to bring all failed plots to fruition. So the biggest plot and the one most concerning in that is the aviation plot. So 30 years ago, there is this plot called Bojinka. Have you ever heard of it? Mm-mm. So it's fine. You remember Ramzi Youssef from the First World Trade Center?
Okay.
Okay. So before that, so Ramzi was involved in this plot. It was out of South Asia, and what it was going to be is the downing of 12 airliners going trans-Pacific to the United States. Well, what happened 2 weeks before the attack kicked off, Ramzi had an electrical fire in his apartment. Law enforcement showed up, found all the plans, and thwarted it. Also, when they raided the apartment, they realized, oh my gosh, they did a test run, and they blew up a bomb on the plane, and it only, luckily at the time, killed the bomber, and the pilot was able to safely land it, which is amazing. So anyway, so that's a failed plot, okay? So that's one of the plots now they want to bring to fruition. So it's 12 airliners over the United States. But it's even more than that. So they also are trying to pull in people from the failed plots so they can have their success. So they took the bomb maker, he worked on the coal bomb, he worked on the bomb for Bojinka, and he actually trained a couple of 9/11 hijackers. His name is Yazid Sufat, and Jade might have brought him up because he's running the CBRN program in Afghanistan. Anyway, they brought Yazid Sufat in and said, you can make the bomb for this plot, because he made the bomb for Bojinka 30 years ago. So they're bringing in all these old historic people to support this plot. It's very, very interesting. Another one I want to bring up super quick that they brought in, you remember the attack on us, at Chapman Coast Base, okay? So remember, the CIA was supposed to...
The cake bombing.
What?
The cake bombing. Which attack?
The coast attack, where
Okay.
we lost, obviously,
Okay.
the 2 GRS officers
Yeah,
and then the
yeah.
5 staff. So...
It gets attacked all the time.
I know. Sorry, the big one, the big CIA attack with the Jordanian. So the Jordanian was originally supposed to meet the CIA in Peshawar. Remember, he changed the location to coast. Now, he was in Pakistan. The terrorist that moved him from Pakistan, Amiram Shah, over to coast is the terrorist who tested the bombs for the Homeland plot. And guess where they tested the bombs for the current Homeland plot?
Coast.
Yep, Camp Chapman.
Holy shit.
So the bombs work. They tested them at Camp Chapman. And the crazy part is, right now, Camp Chapman is literally a suicide bomber training course. They train 3,500 terrorists at a time to be suicide bombers in external operations. They don't stay in Afghanistan.
The same camp that you and I were at.
Is now a suicide bomber training camp. And so is Salerno. So the crazy part is...
Salerno was when I was there. They had already taken that.
Yeah. So the crazy part is they're training suicide bombers in that camp and then those suicide bombers are leaving Afghanistan to go to all of our countries. And our government knows the exact location of this compound, right? We know there's imagery of it. We used to work there.
It's our compound.
And they're doing nothing.
How is this even real?
It's the craziest thing. So anyway, so the biggest piece of the plot, as you can imagine, is the aviation piece. Now, remember how I told you they want to honor the people who are detained? So they want to strike like the CIA, the FBI, and the DOD in some manner. And the way it sounds like they're planning to do this is a siege on DC like Mumbai. That's why Scott Mann says, hey, law enforcement, study Mumbai, right? Because then you can learn how that's done. So that's another piece of the plot. The last piece of the plot's really interesting. So Al-Qaeda's running those pieces. So we have Saif al-Adil, who's the mastermind. He's the one that did the 33 strategies that you guys talked about in your show previously. And then we have Al-Qaeda's military commission, okay? So that's one piece. The other piece of the plot is run by ISIS's military commission, and that's in the towns where we live, work, and play. And they really have a strong focus on veteran communities. And the whole purpose of this piece of the plot is to take and make your town, right? You served in the military. They want to make you feel in your hometown how these terrorists feel that U.S. soldiers made their families feel in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan. So this is very personal. This is like where people live, work, and play, you know, kind of like supermarkets, train stations, etc. And the crazy part is they gave that to ISIS. Because remember, ISIS is mass casualty. So that'll be probably the deadliest piece besides the aviation piece. So it's crazy. So as you can imagine, because it's a half Al-Qaeda, half ISIS plot, FBI is like, Al-Qaeda and ISIS would never work together. And they literally go tell law enforcement, the plot's not real because the two would never work together, even though the two worked together for years in Libya. They worked together in Syria. They just won't get over old assessments and do anything about it.
Sebastian Gorka's in tracking this stuff?
Yeah. Well, Sebastian Gorka's in charge of counterterrorism, so he is going to be the guy he's going to be the fall guy, him and Kash Patel. How could they not be? They've done nothing to stop this plot.
How about these bolos you put out?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, as we look into the plot, we're finding terrorists who deployed here for the plot. So we have given, I'm not going to give the exact number so the terrorists don't know how many I know, but it's well over a dozen, okay? So we found well over a dozen of these terrorists in true name, group affiliation, and then their nationality, giving it to the U.S. government. None of them been picked up. So we decided to take two and put them out publicly. One is a Saudi, and he came here and he's a commander for a piece of the plot. So how Al-Qaeda did it's very, very simple. You know how we had like 19 hijackers? It was 20, but one fell off. Well, they said 20 is a great number, so we're just going to make a number that are solely commanders. So think of it this way, it's different this time. So they had one boss. So now every one of them is a boss. So let's just say we take the 20 hijackers. 20 hijackers have now replacements. They're all now commanders and they all run teams under them. So this person's a commander and he runs a portion of the plot and he runs the teams under that portion. And there's a bunch of him. There's maybe like 24 of these commanders on US soil. So that's his level. So the other one released is a Somali, and he's very interesting. His father's super famous. His father's maybe number 3 or 4 of Al-Shabaab. His uncle is. So Fahd Khalaf, longtime friend of the Bin Laden. So anyway, the Bin Ladens chose this Somali to come be a part of the attack because he's second generation terrorism like him. So he is in charge of a bunch of these cells in the United States. And he's in charge of, it doesn't matter if it's Al-Qaeda guys, ISIS guys, HTS guys, Libyan terrorists, it doesn't matter. He runs a big portion of the cell structure, and his cell structure is the one in Louisiana. And Shamsuddin Gerber, who did the New Orleans attack, was inside one of his cells.
Hold on. Before you go on, so you mentioned Al-Qaeda and ISIS before, but now Al-Shabaab is also in the mix.
Yes. So I want to explain to you how a cell works now. So in the old days, if I told you there was a terrorist cell and I said it's 5 guys and Al-Qaeda sent them, you would think it's a 5-man Al-Qaeda terrorist cell. It's not that way anymore. They redid the cell structure. So now when I tell you this Al-Shabaab guy runs a bunch of cells, let's talk about a 5-man cell he has. So he has a 5-man cell, and it has a member of Ansar al-Sharia, Benghazi, who attacked us. I'm telling you who's really in the cell. There's an HTS member, which is a Syria Al-Qaeda group. There's an Islamic State Khorasan branch member. right? That's out of Afghanistan, even though he's not Afghan, he's Bangladeshi. And then there's an ISIS terrorist. So now the cells are mixed, and they're mixed because the US government looks at Al-Qaeda. They look at ISIS. They took HTS off the list. They're not even looking at them. And they're never going to find 5 guys from 5 different groups collaborating because it's against their assessment. I told you, FBI is literally going around and telling law enforcement they don't work together. And they made their cells that way because like people are so arrogant, they just won't view something different. They can't think, oh, the terrorists could evolve. Or
of course they wouldn't
smarter.
Change their tactics.
I know.
Why would they do that?
I know. So it's really smart, but it's so hard to find them, Shawn, because you have to look in this terrorist group and then you have to look in this. I mean, I've been doing this a solid 3 years, and I haven't even found a fraction of these guys.
I think it makes sense that we're not finding them because I can't remember if you said it or if Jane Doe said it, our mutual friend. But I mean, when we talked about how they're communicating and they're not using email, they're not using cell, they're only using human couriers. I mean, and they are unaware of each other with whoever's within the U.S. So even if you crack one of the cells, that cell has no knowledge of any of the other cells.
Exactly.
I mean, you could torture them to the point of death, but they have no information to give you.
And it's more than that, Shawn.
And so, no wonder nobody knows. I mean, they've gone completely dark.
Yeah. And it's even before that point. So if you and I go to terrorist training camp together, we go in there under alias. So I might be able to guess you're American because you do have that, weird accent. But I know you as a completely different name. So if I'm being tortured, I'll never be able to give you a real name because I never knew it. So even the people they trained with, they can't identify. I mean, it's clean operatives. And then there's a ton of covert operations in this plot. Like, it's almost like doctrine. Because remember, the person running the plot, Saif al-Adil, was special operations in the Egyptian military. People forget these things. Remember, one of the leaders of ISIS that people are lying that is dead, Gulmurad Khalimov, ran special operations in Tajikistan. So these people are bringing real military doctrine in. And I don't think a lot of people are watching these advancements.
Man. Wow. What about the TSA? Stopping the screening for the bombs.
Yeah. Well, so this is a problem. So if they would have never said anything, it might have been okay. But they basically said, hey, we're not scanning anymore for the shoe bomb. And then they started saying the locations. And Al-Qaeda, remember, the only problem with the shoe bomb is it got a little moisture in it and it didn't go off. So they fixed the problem really quick. But we jumped in, the US government, and put really enhanced detailed screening in for shoes. So Al-Qaeda's like, it's not worth it doing the shoe bomb, right? That's what happened in the past. Well, like 6 months ago, DHS and Kristi Noem's like, we're not scanning for shoes anymore. That was foolish. Well, Al-Qaeda's like, good. We're going to put the shoe bomb back on the table. So they have prototypes right now of the new shoe bomb they're testing. So the shoe bomb's coming back because we are dumb enough to say we're not screening for it anymore. So they're going to make a visible bomb in a shoe and it's going to get on an airplane just fine because we have idiots who tell terrorists we decreased that screening.
Well, I'm just curious. What are they waiting for? Why wait?
Well, they're not waiting. So you have to look at it this way. It takes time to train everyone, right? It takes time to deploy everyone. And then when you deploy, you got to make your bombs. You got to do your pre-attack surveillance. And then remember, they want to choose a time that we're at our weakest or not prepared. October 7th, they pushed an entire year. Those terrorists sat around waiting an entire year knowing, hey, we were supposed to do October 7th, 2022. I also think a part of it is they want to test even the patience of the terrorists because they want to make sure you can sit there. When they train them, they do say, hey, when we sent the guys to Nairobi, remember the attacks on the embassies got delayed 9 months, and nobody talks about that, in 1998 because the TNT showed up late. So even if they choose a date, things happen. And we've had actually things happen in the Homeland plot. So first off, one of the I said there's these kind of couple dozen commanders. Well, one of them, Faraj al-Hamasi, it's crazy. So he's Libyan, okay? He has to leave Libya and go to Turkey and then wait in Turkey to deploy here to come and then lead his cells. Okay. So he leaves Libya. He throws his passport away because he gets a fake Syrian passport to travel with. I don't know where he threw this passport away, but there's this do-gooder in Libya that finds driver's licenses and passports and literally takes the passport, puts it up on a Facebook page and says, hey, if you lost this passport, call me. I mean, that's an Al-Qaeda terrorist passport sitting on a Facebook page, okay? Wide open to the world. So that's how I get his passport. So he goes to Turkey. And then do you remember when I was on the show, and do you remember when I talked about Ziad Balam? He's like the number 2 most important terrorist in the Benghazi attacks. He was caught. So he was caught at the airport in Turkey. He got sent back to Libya, and then I was doing a whole campaign to get the U.S. government to hold him. He got released like 10 days later. Well, when he got caught in Turkey, this guy Faraj, because I guess he's not the sharpest, was like, oh my God, our whole network's getting picked up. Ziad wasn't doing the Homeland plot. So he freaks out and he's like, we're all going to get wrapped up by the Turkish government. And he leaves and goes to Germany. Okay. So now he's sitting in Germany, gosh, year and a half, waiting to find his pathway to come here to do the attack. And he's outside of like a sports bar and some guy started like talking crap about soccer or something. And he stabs like 5 people. He's in prison. So the crazy part is, so he gets detained. He gets detained, as you can imagine, with his Syrian passport. So he's detained literally as Mahmoud. I kid you not. This is how dumb the Germans are. So Mahmoud, and then of course he changed his date of birth. And so I reached out, I live in Florida and we have a consulate, for Germany in Miami. I reached out and said, guys, here's his passport. You have a Libyan in custody. You're running it through your judicial system as a Syrian. Never got back to me. So he's literally in the German court system, a U.S. Homeland attacker that knows key pieces of the plot. He was going to command a piece of the plot and nobody's doing anything with him. But it helps, at least it messed up. You got to put a new guy in charge. Now, also some senior leaders got killed. Remember how I told you the ISIS military commission is running the attacks where we live, work, and play? Veteran communities is a good example. So he's dead. So in March of this year, he was in Iraq running the military commission, and his mom is a very famous terrorist, and we actually talked about her recently on the watch floor in like our ISIS women video. So his mom got harbored by Abu Muhammad Jalani, the head of Syria. Okay, so there's now a terrorist present in Syria, and he said, come live in Syria. Her name's Najma, and I'll take care of you and you'll be safe. So she moved into Syria and he's been harboring her. So her son, Abdullah Maki, said, okay, my mom's been in Syria for a few months. It's safe. I'm going to leave Iraq and go visit my mom. And as he was leaving Iraq, the U.S. bombed him and killed him. So he was running an entire piece of the Homeland plot. He's dead. He wasn't killed for the Homeland plot, but it helps us. Mm-hmm. Another really good example is, remember I told you there's all these terrorist groups making up cells? Okay, so one of the terrorist groups making up the cells, and you'll know this group, is Taliban Pakistan, TTP, the Pakistani Taliban. So how all these groups worked is just super simple. It's like the head of either the military commission or like the military chief who chose the attackers. Okay, very simple. In every group, doesn't matter. So he was the head of TTP's military. Mm-hmm. So he chose the Homeland attackers. Well, Pakistan killed him this fall in a strike. So he's gone. And then there's one more. So there's one more piece of the plot. So there was the aviation in DC and all that stuff. There's the attacks where we live, work, and play. And then IRGC went to Al-Qaeda and said, hey, the U.S. hasn't authority to Homeland plot, can we just lump in President Trump's assassination into the entire plot? So now the assassination of Trump for the death of Qasem Soleimani is literally in Al-Qaeda's Homeland plot, but still run by IRGC. So the individual running that, I've talked about him on the show before, his name is Mohammed Kazemi. Well, Mohammed got bombed by Israel last summer because he was also one of the key masterminds of October 7th. So the good part is 3 very senior leaders are taken off the battlefield, helping this plot, and then 1 local ground commander is taken off the battlefield. And there could be, maybe a few got caught by immigration enforcement traveling here, didn't get here. We do know a couple dozen have not gotten here yet for one reason or the other. Like they're not on U.S. soil yet. So there have luckily been hiccups. The hiccups are good. It lengthens the timeline. It gives terrorists more time to make mistakes. Hopefully our law enforcement more time to prepare and get ahead of it. And hopefully people keep dying and it affects the plot. So, that's what we want. We don't want it to occur right away. We want it to keep getting pushed.
This is the part of the year when big goals start colliding with busy schedules. Between cold weather and packed days, cooking clean, high-performance meals isn't easy. That's where Factor comes in. They deliver fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and chefs, so you get real fuel with zero planning or cooking. I've been using Factor to stay on track. Lately, I've been hooked on the jalapeno lime cheddar chicken with cilantro cauliflower rice. It's high protein, satisfying, and made with quality ingredients. No refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, or seed oils. They rotate over 100 meals each week to keep things fresh, with options like high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, and even GLP-1 support. They've also launched their new Muscle Pro collection, built to support strength and recovery. Everything arrives fresh, never frozen, and is ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress, no mess. It's an easy way to stay consistent when life gets busy. Head to factormeals.com/SRS50off and use code SRS50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. I mean, I don't know. I know they have patience, and I know they can be sophisticated. I guess I just related back to when we were over there, and it's like, oh, it's getting hit again. Oh, we're getting hit again. Oh, this is the third fucking time tonight we're getting hit. And so I just I don't know.
I do
Crazy
wanna,
assumption of mine to think that they would be impatient, wanting to attack us.
Yeah, I am going to explain a piece of that, though, because it is really important you're thinking. First, I'm going to talk about one thing. So, obviously, there are dates, right? There's dates for certain things. So, they had to have all the pre-attack surveillance, training, bomb making done by like the third week of December of 2025. So right now they are operationally capable to pull off an attack, if that makes sense, because they've done every pre-attack thing. But here's the part we don't really talk about publicly, because I do think once the first major thing happens, the US will be America and we'll stop whatever happens. But what the plan is from the second generation of terrorists is that the waves never stop. So there's this big plot I told you about, but then in 2 or 3 months later, they want to put another major attack in and keep doing it. And so when Joe Kent says there is 18,000 terrorists on U.S. soil.
Did you just say 18,000?
Yes.
Last time we talked, we were thinking it was 1,000.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought it was about 8,000, but he actually testified recently that it's 18,000 known Islamist terrorists on U.S. soil. So what a lot of people are like, well, why haven't they attacked yet? Some of them are for those future waves.
Holy shit.
So Al-Qaeda put 1,000 in the first wave, as we know. But there's future waves, and there was a meeting ISIS actually had. So remember, like the U.S. was putting out a lot of propaganda, like we're going to get the worst of the worst and take off all these people out of the United States. So ISIS started freaking out, and they had a meeting, and they're like, we need to figure out how many actually terrorists we have in the United States that could get wrapped up in these these operations, and they realized they had over 2,500 ISIS members. That's just Syria and Iraq in the United States illegally. So that doesn't count anyone in a green card, because they sent a lot through the programs, just like the Afghanistan one. It's just as corrupt. They sent, Iraqis through who are ISIS, people who got recruited here, etc. So that's just one terrorist group. So we also have to remember these numbers are massive. I mean, 19 did 9/11, and Joe Kent says there's 18,000. And we have no mass campaign to wrap these people up and deport them. So they had that meeting to discuss the number. Do you know since then there's been no concern by Al-Qaeda or ISIS about the people being wrapped up, and they're still sending terrorists over the southern border? Just like 2 days ago, the White House put out that the border's closed. Call me. The border is not closed. Al-Qaeda is moving people in Nogales. They're moving people in San Diego. They're moving people over in Los Alamos. Have you ever heard of the GOAT Initiative? Corey, who runs it. So it's really interesting. And there's a lot of this along the border. It doesn't matter which one you're talking about, but there's all these Americans who go out and they collect these documents that get discarded. So he goes out and collects like passports. So we talk about, the Pakistani ones or the Libyan ones or the Afghan ones. And I engage with him to see if they match up with any of the terrorists we found. And then they go, just 2 weeks ago, they film people climbing over the border wall. So our government's telling the American public, hey, the border's closed. Well, the border's closed maybe if you're a poor person from Latin America. The border's not closed if you're part of a $1 billion terrorist organization who can just pay the Sinaloa cartel to bring you through a tunnel.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have no idea how many.
Yeah, they're working with Sinaloa. They're working with TDA. And it's just like, it's super, super frustrating that our government's not seeing the totality of this, even just when we're talking about like the cartels and terrorism cooperation down south.
18,000 terrorists.
Yeah, that's known. They didn't know. So the terrorists I gave them, they did not know any of them were on U.S. soil. So there's tons they don't know.
Holy shit. Are you still speaking to law enforcement?
Yes.
All over the country?
Yes.
How's that going?
We're almost done, because we were just going to do a year of it, because, at the end of the day, you at a point, they need time to prepare. And if you're not going to tell them like a week before an attack happens. So we have one left. But so we've done a ton. I actually brought a bunch of the coins. I'd love to show you them today.
I think.
Do you have them?
Box over here.
Yeah, I think you guys stole it from me, so you might have it.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is crazy. Yeah. So. And this is just the people who gave me coins. I'm not a big coin person. But here's all the coins we've gotten. Oh, this is for you. This is from Iowa, and they wanted me to give you one of their patches. I have one too, though, so you don't have to give it back to me.
Thank you.
But look, someone gave me socks.
Nice.
I know. North Carolina. But yeah, so anyway, so
all these.
We met all these people to discuss the Homeland plot. So the crazy part is, and I hope Americans understand this, you have proactive people in your country. The FBI isn't leading this. These are good people on the ground saying, we need to prepare our communities, screw the FBI, we're going to get ahead of this plot. And they have people like me and others coming in and telling them about the plot so they can train and prepare their communities. Yeah, there's some cool ones in there. So we've been preparing like sheriff's departments, police chiefs. Heck, we've been with gang units. Is it?
Nice.
Yeah, we've been preparing gang units because, gang units work the streets.
Dude, you've been everywhere. Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona,
we've been in New York, Pennsylvania, Alabama.
Tennessee.
Yeah, we've been in Tennessee a lot. We can't blow off Shawn's friends.
Hey, I told everybody over here. Well, we did that one together. But
yes.
Unless you've been here since.
And yeah, I've been here numerous times since.
Have you really?
Yep. Yep.
To our sheriff's department?
No, to your state.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
And to your university system.
It's good to know they're taking it seriously.
Yep.
FBI.
Yeah. So there's a few good FBI here and there. But very few.
Wow. That's a lot of coins.
Tampa FBI.
What kind of...
We're screwed.
I guess I probably shouldn't.
Your FBI is very good, though. Remember, I met with your FBI.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, your people are squared away. Wait till you see who they sent me in Tampa. Oh, my gosh. I got to do this. I got to do this. So they send these. So I have a threat. Okay. So I inform FBI and I form my sheriff's department. And then I was working for Air Force at the time. So I inform OSI. So my sheriff's department was at my house that night. So good job. FBI showed up about 4 days later. And then OSI 3 weeks later, even though they were in my town. And I work in an Air Force office in a government building. But anyway, so yeah, sorry, but you're not going to crack anything. So they send these 2 guys to my house. I kid you not. One is FBI, but he's not an agent. I don't really understand what he is. And the other guy's like a detailee to the FBI. So the detailee, I'd say, is about 60 years old. And he starts off...
A detailee?
Yeah, like I think he works
You mean like
a local police officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant, okay.
Oh, don't worry, though. It's worse. I'd be fine if he was a local police officer. His first sentence to me is, "Hi, I'm a January 6th expert." He's like 60 years old.
What does that mean?
I know. First off, what's that mean? But whoa, you worked like a 30, 40-year career, and that's what your expertise is you're selling to me? So, of course, I roll my eyes. So then the other guy didn't know much about anything. So I sit down.
I'm a January 6th expert.
Dude, that was...
Get the fuck out of here,
that was
because
the first minute.
This is about terrorism.
This is the first minute of the tone. Neither of them knew anything about terrorism.
What?
So I sit down. It's a very frustrating conversation, not going anywhere, but I tell the other guy, "Hey, you have a Libyan that you guys gave millions of dollars to in the United States, and you guys should go talk to him about this threat to me because he would be able to collect information on it." He goes, "That's above my pay grade." It's above your pay grade to go meet an FBI asset that lives in Virginia? So anyway, so they go, it was a horrible conversation. So they go to leave, and the January 6th expert goes, "I know you have my card, but if something goes down here, call 911, don't call me." And I was like, "What?" So he leaves, and Boone was there, because I had Boone come to the meeting because he knew about my threat. And I go, "Why does this guy think I'm going to call him?" And I went over and put his card in the trash. So that was my only meeting with them. But I did meet with the 2 other people in my Tampa office about Ryan Routh, and they were just as bad. So anyway, FBI, if you live in Tampa, you're on your own. There is no useful FBI
What
there.
is that? I mean, just what does that mean?
I know, but
I'm
also
a J6 expert.
He wasn't 25.
Okay, that has no relevance.
It has 0 relevance. But also, your entire career, that's the one thing you're going to spit out to me as your expert. Like, not like counterintelligence, something? So yeah. So anyway, they sent the A team to, I guess, help me out. So.
How are the local law enforcement guys?
So the local law enforcement is good. So the
Are they
interesting
preparing?
part,
Have you seen improvements? Have you gone to the same place twice?
So yeah, so it varies, as you know. So I don't want to say who's better than others, but there's a county near me that if something goes down, I'm just going to their county because they're so squared away and they're very focused on it.
Oh yeah, you got that Sheriff Brady, right?
Well, we do,
Is it
but
Brady or Grady?
we have Grady, but it's actually not Grady. Grady doesn't have a lot of interest from what I've seen in terrorism, which is interesting. But Grady has. I don't want to put people down, but Grady's county is like, he could find a criminal every 5 minutes. So he's got stuff to do. It's not like he's underworked. I mean, all these criminals go there. So many human traffickers are in his county. I mean, it's crazy. I lived in that county for a bit. It was like a little bit of a cesspool of Florida. So, but there are some rock stars, luckily, who have been training. There's a lot of teams who've broken up their tactics and they're doing different things that they've taken on from knowing about the Homeland plot. So, but as you know, everything's personality specific. So you can go 5 miles to the next area and that law enforcement agency isn't prepared at all. It's really fascinating to watch. There's not states just mandating everybody to do it. Man. So, because FBI isn't being supportive of it. So the interesting thing is, so Joe Kent finally came in, and I think he started his job in August, okay? So in September, he actually put out an unclassified memo to law enforcement. I don't know if you saw this, and it said, "Hey, there's a Homeland plot from Al-Qaeda," and he put in kind of some evidence that was like more unclassified. And so the crazy part is, so NCTC and then the DNI, run by Tulsi, put this out for all of law enforcement in the United States. I went around the country this entire year, even since September, and I never met anyone who didn't have this. I didn't meet anyone who had this memo unless they saw me post about it. So what I've learned is two things. One is what they do is, so the D&I puts stuff out and it goes to these fusion centers. Have you heard of these? All these states have fusion centers. So like in Florida, we got one, Central Florida, but then there's multiple ones. So info goes to these fusion centers and then they disperse it to law enforcement. And a ton of these fusion centers decided not to put out the info from NCTC. So
How do they even have that authority?
Well, so I started asking around, and at one of them, I asked the guy, and he said, well, we were distributing it, and FBI came to us and said, don't put out that stuff from Joe Kent. It's not true. There isn't a Homeland plot. So what? FBI was telling fusion centers not to disseminate an official memo from inside the NCTC, from inside the government. Yeah, there seems to be an issue with Patel and Kent or something that I don't know about. But that's not the only one that told me. Numerous ones said, yeah, FBI told us not to put out. JTTF said, don't release it. And so the frustrating part is we have people inside of our own government stopping the dissemination of info. So, but I don't know if you saw.
I don't understand why you would stop that.
Me either.
Even if because you could not know that it's 100% not true no matter what. And you couldn't know it's 100% true no matter what. But why would it be bad for local law enforcement agencies all throughout the country to be prepared for what might happen? Sounds like it's going to happen. You've done a ton of research, but why not be prepared?
And the crazy part is when you look at the evidence.
How is that fucking harmful?
I know. And all the evidence they put in that memo is forward facing. It's like AQAP's video from June. You can go get the video and watch it. And I'll tell you about it today. But so yeah, it's super, super frustrating. Well, I don't know if you saw a couple days ago, Tulsi was speaking to some sort of sheriff's association, National Sheriff's Association. Did you see that?
I'm concentrating on pedophiles.
No worries, now. No worries.
You're on terrorism.
She works a different thing. I know. So she announced in that, which was super interesting. Hey, we're making an app, an unclassified app that law enforcement can come to it and see all of our postings and get the stuff directly from us. So the interesting part is they probably also saw there's a problem and now they cut out the middleman. So there's going to be an app, and if you're in law enforcement, you can go straight to it. You get it. So you don't have to wait for someone else to hand it to you. So it's very, very, very smart. So luckily they saw a problem and are fixing it, thankfully.
What's the name of the app? When's it going to be out?
I don't know. She just announced it like a couple days ago. In this, came out because she was telling the Sheriff's Association.
We'll figure this out. I just want to make sure everybody knows about it, so we'll pull the clip and put it in right now.
We are close to being able to release an unclassified mobile app that'll allow you, men and women of law enforcement, who are doing the hard work on the ground, working the streets, working in the field every day, to send information directly to us, to provide us with tips, to provide us that real-time, your real-time picture of the threat environment, so that it feeds into the national picture that we are integrating across the interagency here.
Again, it's good to see, though, someone in the government saw a problem and they're fixing it, which you don't see a lot.
I like Tulsi.
Yeah.
I like Joe Kent.
So I think that they want to really move the ball forward. It's just giving them the freedom to do so.
Man.
Oh, and then...
Oh, fuck, Sarah.
So...
Let me take a breath.
It's even better. So the director of FBI was down in Texas speaking at an event with law enforcement. I don't know if it was a sheriff's association or what. And he called the Homeland plot clickbait. So we have the head of the FBI going around telling law enforcement that an Al-Qaeda plot is clickbait.
Interesting.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the video, though. Could I do that really quick?
Yeah.
So when I was on here before, and Jane, we talked about AQAP's first video talking about the Homeland plot. That was December 2023. Well, then that head of AQAP died, and there's a new head of AQAP. His name is Saad al-Awlaki, but he's not related to Anwar al-Awlaki, just the same last name. So Saad put out a new video about the Homeland plot in June. It was on the internet like the last one for a little bit of time, so pretty much nobody's seen it. So the interesting part is when you watch the new video, and I want to explain really quick why it's coming out of AQAP. So back in about 2012, Al-Qaeda was like, we need to rethink how we do our messaging because, you know, the U.S. went very, very strong at Al-Qaeda's media commission. The first detainee debriefing I ever went to was in Pakistan. It was a member of the Al-Qaeda military commission, right, in Pakistan. So Al-Qaeda's like, we need to keep the focus off where we keep our media commission. Let's put everything out through the Yemen branch. So starting in 2012, they put all of this major plotting out and the messaging around it through the Yemen branch. So the U.S. still thinks all this plotting is coming from AQAP when no, it's just passed through them. So even though this video is from AQAP in December 2023 and in June 2025, it's from core Al-Qaeda. So just to be clear. So anyway, the new video has some different things than the old one. The old one had a lot of focus on the aviation plot, and the old one taught you how to make the invisible bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Now the new one actually does show...
We watched that at the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Okay.
So now the new one goes up, it does a little more. It shows more locations, more targets. There were some targets in the first one, like, you know, Biden was in it, Elon Musk, etc. So the new one is updated. So now it shows like Trump, Vance, Pete, Marco Rubio, because, you know, the new administration. Elon's on there again, poor guy, Elon. And then it shows more locations. So you see Washington, D.C., you see New York City, you see Philadelphia. But really interesting, after Philadelphia, there's two shots in a small town.
Really?
Yes. So the small town ends up being Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So I made a really good relationship with this detective. She lives maybe an hour from it. And so she mapped out every possible target there could be in Johnstown. And so I learned a few different things that were interesting. One is it's a 12% veteran population, right? That's pretty high.
What's the population of this town?
Very small. I don't know, maybe 20,
30,000?
30K. Very small. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 stoplights type of city. The other
One
part
or two
is
stoplights?
it's not very big.
You're probably looking at 10,000 or less.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I haven't been to this city.
Very odd that they would.
It's just like a little.
Let's look it up. Do you have your
yeah,
phone
it's a
on
little
you?
downtown. Mine's out there, but we'll look it up. But yeah, it's very small. But they have a huge VA hospital. They have like a kind of a private airport the military sometimes uses. Like there is some stuff there. Now the other thing is it's about 20 minutes north of where Flight 93 crashed. The last thing that is super strange, and I don't know if it connects at all. This town is very famous for an event that happened many, many years ago, and it was this massive flood. And so the interesting part is how this plot's working is, you know, we have the Homeland plot, but there's all these other plots, okay? So October 7th was plotted with it, and some of the Homeland trainees trained with them, and then they plotted for Syria, they plotting for the Homeland, they're plotting some embassy plots, they're plotting an India plot. So all these plots are going kind of like trainings concurrent. Well, remember, the October 7th plot was called Al-Aqsa Flood, which is really interesting. We don't know the name of the Homeland plot, but we actually found it really fascinating because the town didn't have anything super significant besides the veteran, which could matter. But then they had this massive flood. So Al-Qaeda puts this weird messaging in that you're going to figure out and learn after the fact, right? The 2023 video has so much of that. So it's maybe we're just supposed to see something after the fact, or the name's going to be pulled from that. Who knows? But these videos are so important, and I'm telling you, I'm going to law enforcement and they've never seen these videos. They've never watched the invisible bomb be made. And it's very, very frustrating because it's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Al-Qaeda put it out for you. So there is another thing in that video that's interesting. So there's this thing where they do a bunch of shots, and they're doing shots of like a little booby trap on a door. So they do a shot of like a sticky bomb. Okay, you know, like a normal sticky bomb. The interesting part is when you go pull up the literature on that sticky bomb, it's maybe like 6 or 7 years old. It's from Inspire. When you look at the image, The bomb is set up off by a wind switch. So a wind switch. So I did a research and I could not find any sticky bombs set off by a wind switch. So this is fascinating. So we've been telling people there's 100% going to be sticky bombs in this plot. But this is another thing you have to keep in mind. So this wind switch, just as you move, it sets off the bomb because then the air hits it. It's like almost a piece of cardboard flap. So the one thing is we have hardly any law enforcement that looks for sticky bombs on their car. They might go to lunch. They don't look for a sticky bomb. We have cars that sit around and nobody takes them until emergency happens and then they drive them all off, right? So there's little things like that too. Like we talk about the invisible bomb, which is a big deal and a big innovation, but we forget things like a sticky bomb. And the terrorists that are building them are going to use them in this plot. And we don't even have law enforcement looking on their own vehicles to see if there's a sticky bomb. So we don't even have all the basics. And the other problem is...
I mean, that's an easy fix.
I know, but it's getting people to do it.
Send the dog
to
the parking lot.
Well, it's wrapped though in the silicone again.
You don't think a dog can sniff that out?
We've had it tested and they can't.
No. Are you serious?
Yep. So yeah, that worked. I mean, Al-Qaeda did it, they tested it, but there have been people who've tested it here and they say, yep, that works. They can't smell it. The dog might act somewhat different though, so you could have a slight change in behavior, but they are not alerting on them. So big problem. But these sticky bombs, if you're looking in your car, you're not going to miss them. It's not like invisible. Now, the other issue is, so we have these all kind of bombs. I just don't want people to only look for sticky bombs because there's going to be regular suicide vests, regular IEDs. There's going to be pipe bombs. Just think of every bomb. But then we have the invisible bomb, which is special because it goes through the magnetometers. You can take it in the airport and go to secure spaces. But then we just have normal suicide bombers besides these. So in a normal suicide vest, but think about it. We don't have these suicide bombers in the United States. I'm going to these law enforcement places. They do not have standard operating procedures for suicide bombers. They have no training on suicide bombers. And remember, some of these suicide vests have chemicals in them. Mm-hmm. They don't even have hazmat. So there's just simple pieces of this plot. If you don't go out and sit and tell people, they're not planning or preparing for them. That's why you got to travel around to as many as you can and say, hey. And once they start seeing and understanding it, they're like, oh my gosh, we got to do these things. But it's like our government's not actually like putting anything out to tell anybody.
Every time we talk, I just get fucking enraged.
But you saw, I mean, there's people trying. There's a ton of police and sheriff doing this themselves, putting these things in place. Very proactive. I mean, a lot of communities have teams who are really on this, but they're being failed by the federal government.
I just don't understand why the FBI is so against these law enforcement agencies preparing for a potential terrorist attack. I mean, we've already seen stuff. I mean, there's a National Guard guy that got, that killed in D.C. You track? I know you're tracking that.
Oh, yeah. So that one I had to look into that one because he's former CIA. So, so that's Ramanullah Lakhoonwal. So the interesting thing is, like around 2007, so his birthday's wrong here, just so everybody knows. Because if you go through the dates, it's like we recruited him at 12 years old. We didn't. But you know how foreigners change their date? Mm-hmm. So just FYI, the ages the U.S. government has for him is incorrect, but who cares? Almost every foreigner in this country, the wrong birthday's wrong. So anyway, around 2000,
a lot of them from third world countries, they don't even know when.
Well, they just make it up. When I was in grad school, I was mentoring a guy from the Emirates, and he said, "Oh, I just made my birthday a couple years older, so when I came here, I could drink." Right? He just made up completely, and nobody cares. That's so it's not all nefarious. So he goes and he trains at Eagle Base. So he's from Coast. So a lot of people don't understand. So what the CIA did is they were recruiting, and I know you know this, I'm just explaining to people. They recruited people from areas where there's a lot of terrorists and terrorism because they grew up in it, they understand it, they can operate in those environments, and they know what they're looking at. So he's from Coast, recruited in one of these areas. So he goes up, he trains Eagle Base, and then he doesn't get deployed back with the Coast team. He actually gets deployed down to Kandahar, and he's at Gecko. So he was on one of our teams, it's true, at Gecko. Now, what a lot of people get confused about is you can be have a background check to work for CIA, right? If you're overseas, heck, you can be a terrorist and work for CIA. But that doesn't mean you're vetted to come and live in the United States. So he was never vetted by CIA to come here. So that's one thing that kind of gets lost. People like CIA brought him here and all these type of things. This really didn't happen. The other thing is that really frustrates me. So everybody's like, yeah, he came here, he couldn't fit in, he was a loner, he's playing video games all day. But what they're lying to you about is, and this really frustrates me, this is why we have no vetting. His brother is he's dead now. His brother was a member of Islamic State Khorasan province. So his brother, Hayatullah, started in the TTP, who we just talked about, and he was in a Rocksci agency working, and then he gets recruited by ISKP, and then he becomes one of ISKP's main recruiters in the eastern portion of Afghanistan. Well, as you can imagine, he's already on Pakistan's radar because of the TTP time, and then he's recruiting on these terrorists. He's also recruiting Pakistanis. So they basically like take him out in summer of 2022. But we brought Ramanuli here prior to that. So his brother was a member of TTP, then ISKP, and still got in the United States. So we are doing no proper vetting if we're just letting in the siblings of terrorists.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's just super, super frustrating. So unfortunately, that's what killed him. But again, everybody's like, oh, he got depressed here and he got radicalized here. You don't get radicalized in America when you grew up in a house and your brother was a TTP terrorist. Like, you were radicalized in your damn home. You grew up in Coast. You were recruited because you're from an area with terrorists. So we have to get Americans to start understanding, too, what a terrorist is. No, they're not getting a little depressed and shooting people because American life is hard. They've lived way harder lives. So
I didn't even know that was a narrative. But
oh yeah. Wow. Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
he was sitting around playing video games all day, Shawn, and got just so depressed.
that'll do it to you.
I know, those video games.
People just need to get the fuck out of this country
And they
just
don't
see what's going on.
understand evil or
Did you? Where was that one? Oh man, this maybe was 6 months ago. Maybe those two guys. I think they were on a bridge or in a park or something. They were doing mag changes with bolt action rifles. I'm pretty sure.
Is this the
Where
one
was? Do you know what I'm talking about?
was this in Texas and then they did some shots and then there's some kids playing soccer, or is this a different one?
I think it's a different one.
Okay.
I think so. They had
Okay.
bolt action rifles and
Okay.
they were trained.
Yeah.
They were trained. We talk a lot on this show about protecting your family and being prepared for the worst case scenario. But there's one area of protection that a lot of us, myself included, for a long time tend to procrastinate on, and that's life insurance. I've had term life insurance for several years now, and I remember the exact moment I realized I needed it. It was right around the time my son was born. I started thinking about the mortgage, the kid's education, and all the expenses I'd want covered if the unthinkable happens and I'm not here to provide for them anymore. But having a plan in place is what actually allows you to breathe easier. If you've been putting this off because you think it's too expensive or too much of a hassle, you need to check out Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done today. Made for busy parents like you, all online, on your schedule, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. A lot of people assume their work-life insurance is enough, but most policies don't provide nearly enough coverage and don't follow you if you leave your job. Fabric offers affordable, high-quality life insurance like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Fabric is partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by families just like yours for over 50 years. And Fabric is rated excellent on Trustpilot with over 1,900 five-star reviews. There's no risk, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/Shawn. That's meetfabric.com/Shawn. MEET fabric.com/Shawn. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Want to stay up to date on all things SRS? You bet your ass you do. Our newsletter brings you the latest SRS news and critical updates. Get instant alerts on the newest episodes. Never miss a beat. Exclusive intel briefs from counterterrorism expert Sarah Adams. You've seen her many times on the show. She's going to give unfiltered insights on global terrorist activity. For Patreon exclusives, you're going to get epic range days with me and damn near every guest that's come in the studio. You're also going to get behind-the-scenes content and guest updates. You're going to get first dibs on new merch drops and limited edition items that will never be sold again. Plus, exclusive offers from our partners you won't find anywhere else. So subscribe to the Vigilance Elite newsletter right now. All right, yeah, so I was talking about, what was it, Bondi Beach, Australia? I mean, when you look at that video, I can't remember how many people were killed or hurt or any of that stuff, but when you look at how proficient that guy is at operating a bolt-action rifle with speed. I got 6 years as a SEAL and 9 working as a CIA contractor, and I can't fucking operate a bolt action like that. That shit's terrifying. I mean, these guys are fucking training.
I mean, and they're honing these skills. And a lot of times, this is what they're doing full time. And I try to explain this to people because I get all these people, oh, have them come to my town. I'll take them on. Yeah. I'm like, these guys are training in advanced urban warfare. They're training 7 days a week. They're training in small teams. And we don't have law enforcement that even trains that way. We have drills in this country for one active shooter. Well, what are you going to do when it's 10? You have no plan for that. What about 5 more at another location in your town? You don't have a plan for that. So the crazy part is they're investing so much time into this training because things did go wrong in the past, especially bomb making, right? Mm-hmm. So they were like, we got to be proficient on these things. We have people in law enforcement who need to try over and over again to pass like the basic proficiency. You can't go up against these guys with basic proficiency. You got to put the time, the money, and effort into training people. And until they come here and operate in one of these teams and like shock everyone, that's when everybody will put in the training budgets in. But guess what? That's too late then. Then you have tons of dead Americans. And so it is this very frustrating thing. And he's such a good example. I don't know why everybody's not showing that, because that's a restrictive environment. He still took the time. He went to a range. He did that training. We should be watching for stuff like that, watching those little things that they're improving on to be proficient at. Why?
It's also showing that they're going to use what's available to them. You know what I mean? Because where did that guy come from?
Yeah, well, so he was
was he an Australian citizen?
No, but he grew up there. His father immigrated there, so he was an Australian citizen.
What I'm getting at is, I mean, obviously, terror cells have access to pretty much anything you want. You know what I mean? But they're using, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is they're resourceful and they're using what's available to them in the immediate environment and getting very proficient with it. That nobody uses a bolt action rifle like that. It's for hunting, it's for sniper, it's for long distance shooting. He just turned a bolt action into an effective, I mean, it's I've never seen anybody do it like that.
Yeah, but you are right, depending on the location. So if you're being deployed to Europe, for example, you spend a lot more time training on knives, like a ton of time training on knives, because you're likely going to use knives as part of your attack, because it is a little harder, even for terrorist groups, to get the guns and weapons they need. But yeah, the United States, I mean, they're just training on, you know, I know every time I bring up guns, I say I'm wrong, but you know, like fully automatic, long gun type of things.
Semi-autos.
Semi-autos. See, I understand. But remember, they brought the guns here. So this is another problem I'm trying to get people to
they brought
understand.
Guns into our country?
Yes.
Why would they do that?
Because we have different restrictions on some of our guns. So if they bring the guns in here, it won't have all the restrictions on like the speed and stuff. So I'm really bad with guns. This is why no one ever gives me a gun. But they brought in guns that could do
want a
more
gun,
things.
Sarah?
No, I'm fine.
I know a guy.
But then they brought some bigger guns in too. So I don't know tons about guns, but like things that have like the 50 caliber rounds. I know everybody's like painting at my gun talk. But so yes, so they brought their own. They did bring some guns, but some of the guns they brought in because they say property of U.S. government. Because they want it to be on the scene, and then the public blame the government. So some doesn't, and nothing special about the gun, but it's marked.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Wow. You caught that they are planning on using guns that say property of U.S. government.
Yep, they moved them
fucking
from
kill
Afghanistan.
us with.
100%.
Holy shit. I mean, holy shit, they're going to fucking kill us, but...
It's not just guns.
It's
you know how we say
that is. I mean, it's actually fucking brilliant.
It is. It's even more though, Shawn. So you know how I say we give this money to the Taliban.
See, this is the kind of unconventional warfare that we should have been fucking doing ourselves this entire time.
I know.
Right?
It is. What they think we're doing, we don't do. So, long story short, there's Taliban money. Legends explain to you the 40 million humanitarian, it becomes Afghanis. But the counterterrorism dollars, that 47 million, stays U.S. cash. So some of that U.S. cash has been brought back into this country. So when you look at those bills, they're going to go straight back to the Treasury that did the shipment, because we have barcodes on our dollars. And you're going to know that money was given from the U.S. Treasury to the Taliban. And it's going to prove the U.S. government funded the attack. That's the level this attack is planned at.
Every fucking...
So then the public sees that, they're going to put that out, and you're going to be like, yeah, like, how do you argue that? It is the money the U.S. government gave. How are you going to argue the U.S. government to fund this and didn't know about it?
They'll hide it.
Yeah, but I'm saying they put in real evidence, which is crazy.
I know, but it will never hit. I guess what I'm saying is the weapons, somebody will probably pick that up. The cash... Mm-hmm. I just don't see that getting to the media.
Yeah, but the terrorists are going to put it in the media.
Because everybody just wants to protect the institution to continue their power, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we see it going on right now with all kinds of shit.
I know.
I have an interview cooking that's going to reveal a lot of that kind of shit. All these fucking people that protect institutions. And they're not all way up there. It's also the lower level people that want to protect the institution. And it's so I don't think that will hit.
Yeah, it might not hit.
It would have to be somebody who doesn't want to protect the institution that leaks it.
Which will. But it's just the idea they're planting evidence. So if you want to dig into it, you can prove tons of evidence that the U.S. government funded it, supported it, backed it. And that's the win they want. They want you to be like someone who, like the 9/11 people who said the government did it, they want you to say that about the next attack because they don't want you to focus on Al-Qaeda. They want you to bring down your government. That's the whole point of it. They want you to not trust your government and say, my government can't keep me safe. My government is funding terrorism.
Newsflash, we're already there.
I know. Well, the interesting part is...
Some of us.
Remember, terrorist organizations are also religious organizations. So actually, religious-wise, the Taliban cannot take money from us. So they actually had to basically make an edict to allow it. They're allowing it because the money is going to be a part of a deceptive campaign, and then you can do it if you're going to use it for deception. And Americans just don't understand this at all. But the terrorists do, so this money they're going to use in deceptive practices, and then it makes it okay under their Islamic principles. And so there's so many things even not understood. We fought these guys for 20 years and we still don't understand even just some of those basics.
Ryan Ruth.
Yes.
Let's talk about him.
Well, we're filming today. I know it's going to air later, but they're actually going to give him a sentencing February 4th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
So tomorrow. I just have to say the dates because I know we're not airing tomorrow. But the interesting part is, We talked about him previously because I put out a bolo on him like way back in like May of 2023. But
Did you really?
Yes, because he was causing. Remember, at the time I was running a nonprofit in Ukraine, and he was. So the thing is, Ryan Routh went to Ukraine to be a fighter. Of course, he got there, and you have to actually have real bona fides to join the Legion. He tries to join the Legion. They're like, you have no background. You can't be in the Legion. So what he did is he went to Kiev, and Kiev kind of has like a, I don't know, I would call it like a central market area of town, and he was hanging out there all day. He would hold up a sign with like his phone number, and so he was telling people, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with groups. And so I was one of the groups, and he would act like he's associated with us to put volunteers into our group. And of course we didn't take anything from this crazy guy. Well, then he decided, oh, I'm gonna be like a PMC or something. So then he makes up this whole ruse. I'm going to bring all these foreigners in to fight in Ukraine. So he makes like a nonprofit. He puts the same phone number all over the place. He starts calling like Afghan commanders. Hey, give me some of your fighters.
This is the guy. This is the
Yes.
this is the guy that tried to kill Trump on the
Yes.
golf course in Mar-a-Lago, right?
Yes.
This guy was able to.
No, telling you.
Okay.
This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to
Okay.
recruit Afghans, people from Africa, etc. Well, of course, the Ukrainian government's like, we're not going to give any visas to Afghans, because if we did Afghans on our soil, people are going to think we're the most horrible people. Because think about it. Terrorists just took over the country of Afghanistan. If the Ukrainian government brought a bunch of Afghans in to fight and they'd be killed by a bunch of Russians, the whole world would be like, why are you using Afghans? You're taking advantage of these vulnerable people. So the Ukrainian government said, hell no, we're just not issuing these visas for any group. You could even have been a General Petraeus asking. So it was no across the board. So Ryan Routh didn't care about the facts, and he started literally getting Afghans to illegally come towards Ukraine, thinking they're going to fight. And of course, when they got there, Legion's like, you can't fight here. Our government said no. So he starts running these schemes. He's telling Americans, oh, I'm helping in Ukraine. He's collecting like donations, not huge sums, but this is funding his life there. So here's kind of where this part of the story comes in. So I report him. So I first report him publicly, and then my chief information officer and my NGO reports it to State Department. I talk to a couple other people, an Afghan commander, another NGO, and they report to the State Department. So of course this all happens. Ryan Routh tries to assassinate the president, and so my bolo comes out, because people start sharing it. Hey, there's this bolo a year ago. And so the press start calling me. So that was September 2024. So all these press outlets reached out to me, and I told them that little bit of my story. But I told them, we sent these complaints to State Department. So they call State Department. They're like, we have nothing on record about Ryan Routh. Nothing at all. He's not even in our system. Well, then there was like a FOIA request. I want to say it was Daily Caller, and it just came back like a month ago. And there's tons of stuff in State Department files on Ryan Routh, and they were literally investigating him. And they lied to the press when they called about me, saying, we don't have his name anywhere in our files.
Just like what I was talking about with the cash.
Yeah, so they lied to the press. And it was funny, one of the guys in the press called me back, said, I just talked to State Department, his name isn't there. I said, I can promise you.
To protect the institution.
Exactly. And I said, I can promise you a year or two, you'll hear it's in there. Because every truth takes about 2 more years to come out. That's just how it works in the government. But, so with Ryan Routh, but it's really interesting. One other thing about him, about that plotting, didn't come out, and it should. So he did the whole thing that we all know on Mar-a-Lago. But remember, there's that thing where there's the deer blind. It was like 12 feet up in the tree, and it was towards Palm Beach Airport, and it was where Trump brought in his plane.
I didn't even see that one.
Okay, so law enforcement found this like deer stand in the tree, and they're like, oh, we think it was to assassinate the president. Ryan Routh built that deer stand. That's why we never heard any follow-up on it, because everyone's like, who made the deer stand? And then they come back around and say he built the deer stand, because he can build stuff. He has like a background in some carpentry. But anyway, yeah, so he's hopefully going to get life in prison. They don't have like a death penalty or anything like that on the table. But anyway, but yes, State Department lied. But it's just another great example.
Are they investigating it now, or the Butler one?
I don't know how any of those investigations are going, but obviously that would be what, FBI? Good luck. You know my opinions on how well FBI investigated Benghazi. I mean, I would not, if you told me FBI was investigating anything for me, I would either pay money and just have someone investigate it, or I'd be like, okay, I'm never gonna get answers.
Yeah.
That's my level of optimism.
I think that's probably just about everybody's level of optimism.
And we wanted, I'm fine if you reform the FBI, but it's never happening. So I'm at the point, just disband it.
Yeah.
I'm fine. We have a lot of great law enforcement in this country. We can do a different organization, bring in some quality people.
Jeez. What's the updates on Benghazi?
So we're still working the investigation because there's so many damn terrorists. You know, one of the really frustrating things happened last summer. So Al-Qaeda did this operational plan, and they were going to basically attack a prison where a bunch of our terrorists are held. So it's called Matiga Prison. It's just in Tripoli. Do you remember kind of like when Benghazi happened? There was like a real airport, and that's where Team Tripoli went out of. Well, then there was a military airport. So that was Matiga. The real airport ended up being like bombed by terrorists and it closed. And then Matiga kind of became the prison. I mean, the real airport, but it had a prison always in it. So terrorists are kept in this airport prison, okay? So this is where pretty much all of our Benghazi attackers are who aren't with General Haftar's custody. So anyway, Al-Qaeda was going to go and overrun this prison and release our terrorists. So we found out about it and put it out publicly. And there was a lot of pressure on the Libyan government. Hey, you're going to let Al-Qaeda just attack a prison and free all these people. So then the Libyan government went to Al-Qaeda and like, we got to do this a little more quietly. We can't have a massive attack on the prison right now. The international community is paying attention. So this is what's crazy. So the prison's run by this organization called RADA. They're called the Special Deterrence Forces. They're almost like a militia. They're more capable than most militias in Libya, but they're not completely clean. So like that's where Ziad Balam was taken, and he was treated like a king while he was inside for the 10 days. So anyway, they're holding it. They get a letter from an American who works for the UN. Her name is Stephanie Curry, and she hands this letter to the head of RADA, and it says, in good faith, you know, for your relationship with the UN and the United States, please release these 56 people. So it said, please release them in good faith. So the RADA guy looks through the names, and of the 56, 50 are terrorists from ISIS and Al-Qaeda, including Benghazi attackers. So I don't have the list, but I know some of the ones they were focused on is, so one of our terrorists, his name is Hisham Abu Sidra. We call him Kubayb during the attack because, you know, that was his kunya. When he was captured a couple years ago, he was the head of ISIS in Libya, okay? Wow. So this is one person. Another one is Mohammed al-Gharabi. When he attacked us in Benghazi, he was the head of Al-Qaeda in Benghazi. And then the last one, Ayman Bouhamoud. So he, first off, is related. Remember how I said FBI paid off that witness to frame the mastermind? So he's his cousin. But then 2 years after our attack, he kidnapped the Jordanian ambassador. So anyway, so this list has 50 terrorists. So RADA goes back to this chick, Stephanie Curry, who works for the UN, she's an American, and says, this whole list is terrorists. We can't release these people. Well, I find out about it, and this prison is very important to me because a bunch of my attackers are in it. There are like 3 people in the entire West who give any damn about terrorists in this prison. If you asked me to write a list of 50 terrorists sitting in that prison today who are actively inside, I could not do it. So I'm like, there's no way an American woman could sit down and write that list. Like, I could in a month maybe put a list 2025 together because people don't stay in that prison long. I told you, Ziad was only there 10 days. So sometimes they rotate in and out. So I was like, what the hell? Where did she get this list? Well, I find out where she got the list. So in Libya, there's this Grand Mufti. His name is Al-Sadiq Al-Ghorani. So he's the religious authority in Libya, but he's a member of Al-Qaeda. And he's a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, of course. And he has oversight of all religious stuff to do with the Libyan government. But it's not like America and it's separate. So he's also involved in oil industry, any kind of governance, trade, right? Because religious role in all of this. He gave her the list. So a member of Al-Qaeda gave an American a list of terrorists to release that included some of our 2012 Benghazi attackers. Did you hear anyone do anything? What Mike Waltz runs the UN? Nothing. Like, why are we having Americans trying to get Benghazi attackers released? Like, I'm so angry about this. It's so hard as it is to get these guys detained, I can't even tell you. But to know people who worked for my own government, like, are perfectly fine getting Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists released. The head of ISIS in Libya, you know how many people he killed?
I just
And then I have to be collecting and trying to counter these stupid activities. That's the crazy part. There's also no entity in the U.S. government trying to do anything right.
No, I think we can all see that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We get all these people that run for office. Oh yeah, the UN's corrupt. They fund terrorism and do all these things. They get in. They do nothing about them. They don't defund them. They keep letting this stuff happen. What, we're going to release 50 terrorists because some
What I was getting
idiot
at
in the
earlier
UN
too.
asked me?
It's just fucking talking points for them to put on X.
I know.
That's all this shit is.
I know.
I'm not talking about Tim Burchett. I think Tim Burchett
does a good job.
a good fucking man. But all these other people just batting this shit back and forth. It's like, shut up and do your fucking job.
And they don't want any
Do
facts.
what the fuck we voted you in there for.
No, yeah, they don't.
But it's still, I don't see red or blue, Republican, Democrat anymore. I don't see any of that. I just see
It's not.
you're either a piece of shit or you're not.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's
it's
it.
the elites versus everyone else. Because Tim Burch is no elite. And that's really what the world is. I mean, all these people, you know, I went and worked on the Hill and saw it. Like, these Congress people, they'll go and they'll say bad things about each other. Then they're at dinner together. I remember the first time I went to a congressional lunch and it's like, there's Republicans and Dems are all coming up and hugging each other. And I'm like, wait,
I've seen
on
it.
TV, these
I've
people
seen
were hated each other. They make plans about who's going to say what. It's all a game.
Jeremy called WWF wrestling.
Yeah.
It's literally WWF wrestling.
They will keep their system in place and protect each other's parties no matter what. There is no draining the swamp. And it's just a frustrating thing to watch. And so many people are idealistic or they love like the person they voted for. And it's just like, you just feel bad because you're going to be so disappointed when they find out it's...
Yeah. I know. Let's just move on.
Perfect.
All right, so let's walk me around what's going on geopolitically around the world.
Oh gosh, the whole world?
What's going on with Iran?
I mean, Iran is a very complicated thing because so much of our government has this belief, you know, in the strong man, right? It is better to back a government with a strong man because we know exactly what we're getting. So even though I feel like the majority of Americans, and of course I am, with the people of Iran, our government isn't really supportive of that because they're like, we can negotiate with them, we can send them money, we can keep them at bay, we know how to deal with them. We do not know how to deal with or what kind of control or influence we're going to have with the next government that comes in. So we have this tough situation where unfortunately all these people are dying. The other thing that's happening that's very frustrating. So first off, I'm going to talk about that. So that means we're talking about our deals right now with Iran are nothing to do with the people. It's nuclear diplomacy. Because nuclear diplomacy is where you can fall back, pretend you're doing something, and then you make a deal and you say, hey, we solved something, and it doesn't do anything for the people. So that's what we're doing. But what happens with the people, and this is something that was different than all the last times, our government said, don't hang people publicly. So the frustrating thing now is they're doing extrajudicial killings, right? They'll just walk in and shoot someone in the head. They're injecting people and killing them. So we have no concept now of how many people are being killed after being detained. Before, they'd at least go to death row and be hanged, and you can monitor it in some way, but we have people getting murdered in the streets. And in the streets, it's not just Iranians. There's Iraqi militias, there's Afghans. I mean, it's crazy because Iran has an Afghan brigade people don't really talk about, but the Fatahun Brigade. So anyway, there's all these terrorists and bad actors killing people in the streets, but then even when they end up in a hospital or in custody, they're now being extrajudicially killed. And we're basically telling them to do it. Like, just don't do it publicly.
As of this recording, Polymarket says there's a 19% chance that Khamenei, I'm saying that wrong, will be out as supreme leader of Iran by March 31st. What do you think?
I think because our government's doing this nuclear deal stuff, I don't believe it at all. Now, if our government had said, we're done negotiating with the government Iran, we only negotiate with the people, I would say he'll be out 80%. But now that they're like, no, we're going to, like, the deal's weird if it's true. Like, they're going to give us a little bit of uranium and then we're going to be like, okay, it's all good. But the people, like, can't afford to live. They're oppressed. Terrorists are running their country. There's people killed with no crimes. Like, none of that is being addressed. And so that's super, super frustrating. So I think if we had handled it differently, I would say that. But how I'm watching it, it's a nuclear deal. I don't think anything's changing.
But I don't think a 19% chance is a great.
I know, but
You think it's less than that?
Oh, I think it's 2%.
You think it's 2%?
Yes. Now, a month ago, I would have said it's 19%, but now that I've seen this weird nuclear deal, I know the government's...
what is the nucler deal? Well, I mean...
So, a government is...
It'd be interesting to see how Polymarket's percentage changes after this.
Yeah, sorry, Polymarket. But our government is negotiating with Iran, okay? But the negotiations happening right now with Iran are about nuclear. They started negotiations when these protests started, and they're about the nuclear program. They're nothing to do with what any of the protesters are asking for. That's what I'm saying. That's why I know he's staying in power, because that wouldn't be the deal you'd be working on. You don't need to make a nuclear deal with the guy you're kicking out, right? If this guy's going to be done in a month or two, we don't got to make a new nuclear deal with him. He's going to be gone. We can end the whole program a week after he leaves. So yeah, so that's why I know it's a game now.
So we don't, all that's all a facade too. We don't give a shit about the, I mean, I give a shit.
I know.
The U.S. government doesn't give a shit about
the
those
people of Iran.
Do you think we should have bombed Iran back in, when was that? When was that? It was in the summer. We were in Dubai. We were flying home and we could see the...
100%. So the thing is, and Iran knew this anyway, we were always going to bomb Iran when we found out they hit a certain level of enrichment or they could get close to putting...
How did we find that out?
So,
because here's what's interesting to me, and I can't tell you who told me this, not on air. Not one of our intelligence agencies fucking said that they were enriching uranium. It was Mossad that came along and told us that.
Well, the first thing is you have to remember, Mossad has way better access in Iran than we do. Just to be honest, I have some better accesses in Iran than the U.S. government does. So we have to be really honest about that. The U.S. does have bad access in Iran, so they've always had to rely on other people. So that's no conspiracy. Think about it. That's Iran's greatest enemy. They have the best access here, just like we had the best access in Afghanistan when we were fighting the Taliban there, right? Because that was our enemy. So you have to view it in that lens, okay? So that's not a conspiracy.
Okay, but I mean, remember early on in Afghanistan when we would go into these villages and we would just take somebody's word for it? Oh, no, they're the bad guys, not realizing that these people, these two groups have been battling each other for 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, so, you know what I mean?
That's not exactly what's happening in this case. So I will tell you, they were 100% enriching, and the U.S. government also has information that they're enriching. It's not just from Mossad. That's 100% not true. I mean, I even had access to a guy who had a family member in the program. The program is real. The program is much farther along than our government was aware. And I think they were caught a little bit with their pants down and realized it is more advanced than we thought. Remember, for like 15 years, they kept saying it's not advancing. Sorry, a program does not advance for 15 years. So our government just kept rolling the same assessment over into every year. And I really do think Trump saw it and said, holy crap. We are so behind in our assessment on this. We got to hit them now. I do believe they had enriched that much. I personally believe it. Remember, I used to work around in the CIA. So there's so many conspiracy things around Mossad, but you have to look at the facts of the situation. They have been enriching very successfully. Luckily, we've been tripping them up over the years, over and over again. And Mossad has done it plenty, taking out their scientists and stuff. But the enrichment still slowly kept happening. People act like, for all that time, nothing improved. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, they brought in people, they brought in Libyan scientists after Gaddafi fell. They obviously always brought in Pakistanis. So they have the capabilities and always had it to make it happen. And so I think that's just the whole current anti-Israel propaganda.
Well, who are they more a threat to, us or Israel?
Well, they're more a threat to Israel, but I'm telling you, to say no one in the U.S. government
didn't they
believed in the
bomb 'em?
enrichment isn't true. I'm just telling you.
All right.
There's not no analyst in the U.S. government who didn't believe in enrichment. That's a assessment put out in the wild for the public, but that's not real. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm skewed, but reading these Epstein files and all the racial remarks towards Americans and Christians is just fucking.
That's the
got me
world. Remember, the
enraged.
world's run by the Muslim Brotherhood. The world's not run by America, and people need to realize that. I hate to let people know, but we are not the top of the pyramid.
Let's talk about firearm security and readiness, because most people get this wrong. If you keep a firearm for home defense, you've got a real problem. How do you keep it secure from kids or guests, but still access it instantly when seconds matter? I've tried the electronic safes. Batteries die, keys get lost, and fumbling in the dark is not an option. StopBox is practical and built for people who want real protection without giving up speed or control. It's completely mechanical. No batteries, no keys, nothing to fail. The 5-button design is built for muscle memory, so with one hand, you get fast access while keeping everyone else out. Your firearm stays secure, but always ready. And that's what sold me. You shouldn't have to choose between safe storage and being prepared. I keep mine staged in different locations around the house. It's TSA compliant for travel, and it's made right here in the USA. If you carry or keep a firearm at home, this is one upgrade that actually makes sense. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at StopBox when you use code SRS at checkout. Head to StopBoxUSA.com and use code SRS for 10% off your entire order. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Again, that's StopBoxUSA.com and use code SRS for 10% off your entire order. Most doctor visits end with, "You're fine," but no real data and no plan, just guesswork while you're still dealing with the brain fog or trying to optimize performance. That's why Superpower stands out. They send a licensed professional to your home, or you visit a nearby lab for one simple draw covering over 100 biomarkers. That goes far beyond a standard physical. Inside the app, you'll get a full breakdown of your heart, liver, thyroid, hormones, metabolism, and even environmental toxins. Plus, a personalized health plan with nutrition, lifestyle guidance, and your true biological age. It's not a one-time snapshot. Your data is tracked over time, and their on-demand clinician team helps you interpret your results. Superpower used to cost $499. Right now, it's $199 for the full experience. Other services charge $500 to $1,000 for far less data. Know your numbers this year. Make this the year you stop guessing about your health with Superpower. Not only did Superpower reduce their price to just $199, but for a limited time, our listeners get an additional $20 off with code SRS. Head to superpower.com and use code SRS at checkout for $20 off your membership. After you sign up, they'll ask how you heard about them, so make sure to mention this podcast to show support. Let's go to Syria. Interesting. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who was there. Actually, he's got a coin right over there that he brought me back from. He's a JTAC. He bombed the shit out of ISIS over there, working with the Kurds.
Yeah.
Called me up the other day,
But doesn't work with them anymore.
all upset. He's
Should be.
like, dude, all the people that we were working with there are now being fucking slaughtered.
I know, it's horrible.
And I said, I'm sorry, man. Like, I hate that you're going through this, but every single veteran generation in America goes through this. We pretend like these people are allies, we abandon them, and then they all get fucking slaughtered. This is what we just went through in Afghanistan. It's already happening in Syria. Kurds are never going to work with us again. What's going on over there?
We let them be slaughtered in Iraq, like in the 90s, and
That
they
is
still
true.
came back.
That is true,
but I mean, it's the most horrible
disgusting,
thing. I know. I mean, we knew this was going to happen, though, when we backed the new government that was led by Abu Muhammad al-Julani. Remember, that was an Al-Qaeda operation to take Syria. So Al-Qaeda took the country of Syria, and the Muslim Brotherhood put in all the leaders, okay? So that's just simple. Now, when we ended up backing this Al-Qaeda leader, then of course he started doing genocides. So he did genocides against the Druze, the Alawites. So we knew it was coming for the Kurds. I even reported out maybe in October, November, that they put on the calendar that in January, they're going to start the Kurdish genocide, which they did. So we told that months in advance it was happening, and the Kurds knew this. And so they first started, and they were just pushing the Kurds out of a neighborhood they run in Aleppo. But if you even see, so they displaced like 150,000 people. This was just a few weeks ago. If you see the narratives coming out of the U.S. government, it's crazy. They're so pro-terrorist. They say they were doing clearing operations in these neighborhoods. These are purely Kurdish neighborhoods. There was like, even the New York Post, they showed a video of one of the tunnels, because as you can imagine, the Kurds were in this neighborhood during Assad too, so they built tunnels so they could escape when Assad would come and kill them. So they're showing these tunnels and like, look at these terrorist tunnels in Syria. They're called Kurdish tunnels, terrorism tunnels. So our government's leaning in really strong also to put out a propaganda that this new Syrian government's a democracy and it's our new partner, it's our ally. The exact same thing they did with the Taliban when they left Afghanistan. But
this is crazy.
they're doing all these genocides.
We're inviting this guy into our country. He's cut people's fucking heads off.
I know. And he's slaughtered thousands since taking over. Also, what they're really being dishonest about, and I would love your friend's opinion. So also, Julani's guys and HTS, because he still runs HTS, went in and they broke out all these ISIS prisoners in these camps. Our government is not telling us how many ISIS prisoners got released. Like, they started saying maybe 150 got released. I've already heard from inside Syria the number is over 1,500. ISIS terrorists are released. The U.S. government is not like putting them on a list, going and trying to recapture them. And then Abu Muhammad al-Julani's sister, because she's a terrorist, was in one of these camps, and he not only had her broken out, he then flew her via helicopter to his palace. Okay, so we can see this, but our government can't see any of this is happening, and that's our ally. So they're going to fund Abu Muhammad al-Julani to fight ISIS when he just released 1,500 members of it. Like, they're lying to the public that they're fighting ISIS. So I don't know if you saw the event in December.
Why? Why would they lie?
They did the same thing in Afghanistan.
I know.
I wrote a 50-page report. So our government right now, remember, they give $47 million a week to the Taliban to fight ISIS. So I asked the logical question, well, are they fighting ISIS? And we did an entire investigation for a whole year, and we put a 50-page report showing their fake ISIS operations. So they're telling our government they killed this guy. Our government will handle $20 million for some dead guy, and the guy's completely alive. We showed tons of examples of that in the report. So no one in our government is actually going to confirm the information. So it's funny. We did these attacks in Syria about a month ago now, and it was like, oh, we found all these locations from the new government of ISIS that we didn't know of. And so what they did is the new government did, like, they buried weapons caches in the desert, and like we hit them in areas ISIS never operated in. So we're running fake ISIS operations, and then we had the horrible incident.
We're running fake ISIS operations
in Syria, and we're running fake ISIS operations through the Taliban in Afghanistan, which in Afghanistan, they're extrajudicial killings. We're killing innocent people and marking on a board somewhere in the DOD that we killed 12 members of ISIS. It's totally fraudulent. We did the same for years in Somalia. So anyway, but in December, we lost the 2 National Guardsmen from Iowa and their interpreter. Our government's even lying about that. They're telling you an ISIS terrorist did that. That was one of Abu Muhammad al-Julani's men. And then they say, oh no, he just joined the force, and then they realized right away he was an insider and they're about to sideline him. He'd been working with them for 11 months. About 2 months prior, they moved him to that unit. And then think about it. If they know you're ISIS and an insider, why would they deploy you with the U.S. troops when they came? So anyway, so since then, our government has lied to the American public that's an ISIS attack. It's not. It's an Al-Qaeda attack. And then we've literally carried out strikes on ISIS 2 or 3 times now. And they're telling the public it's in retaliation for that attack. When it's Abu Muhammad al-Julani who you got to take out for that attack, but he's our new ally, so we're going to cover up that he's involved in killing American soldiers. And remember, he does that stuff as a test. What can I get away with? What can I get away with? What can I get away with? So he got to think about it. If you get away with killing Americans, of course you can go slaughter Kurds. And he knew that. That taught him, go in and get them. And we're allowing it.
And we will continue to allow it.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are.
Our government does not have the moral compass of the American people.
Yeah, that's no shit. Man. What's going on with China?
And then remember, I told you though.
Boy.
No, it's just a reminder. The head of ISIS is literally harbored in Syria by Abu Muhammad al-Julani. So anyone saying we're fighting ISIS and the head of ISIS is in Syria and nobody's talking about that is feeding you a bunch of shit. That's all. So China's interesting because China, I don't know if you saw the recent national defense strategy, but it's changed.
Really? How so?
So China was previously kind of viewed as like our number one military threat, and they moved it back to strategic competition.
What?
Yeah. So now our biggest military threat is like threats to the U.S. homeland, but China's no longer our number one military threat. So now it's back to deterrence, dominance, but it's from the economic side, they're back to targeting China, which is interesting. And then, of course, always a cyber piece. So now with the new strategy, the government's changed. So we're not really focused on kind of one-upping the Chinese military. We're focused on economic related things. So, which some of these are very, very good, but we still got to focus on the military. So it's, let's get rid of some of our dependence on China, right? Let's make stockpiles of rare earth minerals, for example. Let's find different supply routes for maybe AI infrastructure, telecommunications, those type of things. But yeah, so yeah, it's back to economic strategic competition. So that is a big change. I'm surprised not a lot of people picked up on it, actually.
Man, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it was just in the last week or two.
Tell you what we ought to be focused on is our power grid.
Yeah.
When it comes to China.
And hopefully now
Strategic competition?
the good thing about the shift in policy, if it's done in that way, then the focus should be not allowing China to have access to our grid or own ports of the port. So if they really do shift and focus on those things, it will be huge wins. It's just we haven't done that well, strategic competition in the past. So I hope someone's going to change that. Because if we just go back to the way we used to do it, well, we were failing.
JNIM surging in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, as you can
I
imagine,
haven't heard anything about this. What is this?
well, as you know, when everybody focuses when everyone focuses one place on terrorism, it's just surges somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. So JNIM is basically Al-Qaeda's main affiliate in North Africa if you ignore AQAP and Al-Shabaab, okay? So it's kind of equal to them, but it's a whole different group. And JNIM is really interesting because it doesn't need as much money as other terrorist groups. They make all their own income. Like they have gold mines. They actually have a tax infrastructure. People have to pay them for protection, almost like if you lived under a mafia. So what they've done is they've been really smart and they targeted that kind of the collapsing governments in the weak states. So Mali, Burkina Faso, and then you saw we got kicked out of Niger, so they're starting now to kind of play around in Niger. So they're slowly having really massive gains in these locations into Al-Qaeda. They're viewing it as the caliphate plan. You know, let's take Mali, let's take Burkina Faso. And it's been like a really successful initiative and nobody's paying attention to it. But also it's very interesting. I want to say it was about 4 months ago, a very famous terrorist showed up in Burkina Faso. His name is Abu Muhammad al-Masri. We talked about him previously. He's the father-in-law of Hamza bin Laden, but he's the terrorist that I told you the U.S. government believes he's dead. So the terrorists did this really interesting ruse. They fed misinformation to us, and Israel ended up carrying out an operation on him in Iran. And they teed up the assassination the terrorists did for the anniversary of the 1998 attack, so August 7th. So think about it. If you kill a terrorist on the exact anniversary of the attack, wouldn't you as a man with like common sense be like, this seems too perfect? But our government never thought it. So our government has him as dead. So he's alive. So he's running these operations for JNIM from core Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, but he deployed and he's on the ground in Burkina Faso, which is crazy. This is one of the most famous terrorists in the entire world. We aren't even targeting him. And that's why these operations are going so successfully, because he's running it. Like, he was one of the key masterminds of the 1998 plots. So it's just this frustrating thing. He also got put on, and he's now the number 2 on the military commission for JNIM. But think about it. If you're a terrorist and you convince America you're dead, well, then no one's collecting on you. Yeah. And Al-Qaeda's done this very, very successfully. I found this other famous terrorist recently. His name's Abu Jihad al-Masri. So you remember when there was the huge airline plot and then we all had to go to like the 3-ounce liquids? Okay, you know.
Yep.
So there was a terrorist that we went after for that, Rashid Rauf, okay? So he goes and he's hiding in Waziristan like everyone else, and we bomb him. And when we bomb him, everyone said, hey, we also killed this Abu Jihad al-Masri, who was one of the heads of Al-Qaeda's external operations. He didn't die. So that was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. So think about it. If you have a head of external operations alive for a whole nother decade and you don't know what he's doing, what was he able to succeed at that time? The government's not collecting on him. What's he been leading? Who's he been working with? Where has he been going? Some of these terrorists is really interesting. They have fake documents and they're getting on airplanes and they're traveling all over the Middle East. Some of the United States' top 10 terrorists. Like a really good example, his name is Hamza al-Ghamdi. So Hamza al-Ghamdi right now is the head of Al-Qaeda's military commission, right? Pretty much.
I mean, we were printing them passports.
Yeah, well, he's flying all over. So he is on the...
Legend broke that, right?
Yeah, he's on the most... Yeah, so that's one thing. Taliban's making these people passports. But just think about it. Head of Al-Qaeda's military commission, one of the top 10 most important terrorists in the world, is flying on airplanes. Nobody knows it's him. Like, that's how bad the system is. So it's not even just that they're making all these passports for terrorists. The senior leaders are traveling around. No one's got a clue. So it's just this super frustrating thing. He used to be Bin Laden's bodyguard. Our government is missing everything. So they think people are dead who aren't. We got senior leaders flying first class around. We have groups meeting and our government doesn't even know the two groups even have a relationship. Like, terrorists have advanced while we ignored them. And we're really going to be hit hard because of this.
Somaliland.
Yeah. So there's obviously everybody's talking about Somalia right now, but Somaliland was really interesting because they're not a recognized country, even though they should be. They're somewhat of a democracy. They follow our rules. They keep terrorism out. But Israel decided to recognize them, and then it became a big hoopla, right? So
why do you think they decided to recognize them?
Because where Somaliland is, it's super critical for trade, and it's a really great place to have a port. Like, to be honest, we should have a port there. We should have a military base there. And Israel's not the only one. UAE's been trying to make the same deal. So the port matters. For the region.
I don't think they're going to turn it into a beach town like Gaza.
No. It's trade. Now, remember, Somalia is corrupt. Terrorists are getting close to taking over, and we can talk about that. And you have no guarantee if you have access to the port today, you're going to have access to the port 6 months ago. 6 months from now, if Al-Shabaab takes over. So you also, if you're a government, you have to start positioning for the next port location. So that's a huge problem. And you have to remember, in Somalia, Al-Shabaab actually runs some of the ports. So when you pay the port fees to go into that port, you're giving the money to Al-Qaeda. So our government can lie all they want about it, but you're funding a terrorist group by just using the port. So anyway, so Somaliland is the best regional option if you don't want to use Somalia. Because Somalia is this corrupt landscape, as we all know. But as we have been talking about, so Al-Qaeda...
You use Yemen as well?
you can use Yemen.
I mean, I know it's infested, but
You would do both. You could stop in Yemen and then you could stop in Somaliland, if you're shipping or something. So I would prefer both if I was running things and making deals for my government, just FYI. Now, with Somalia, so for the whole last year, Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab has had this operation to take Mogadishu, and they've done it very successfully, and nobody's talking about it. Remember the Hamza al-Ghamdi, who I told you has been traveling all around? He actually went there, I think it was like November 2024 now, made this whole operational plan. And so what they're doing is they're slowly moving in on Mogadishu from every direction, taking cities, taking roadways. So if you put a circle around Mogadishu and you're like, where's Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab? The closest point is 10 miles away, and then it's about to 40 miles away. So they have encircled the city within 10 miles in some locations. Other locations about 40. And so they're going to go in and take Mogadishu. And nobody's really being honest about this. So in about 2022 and 2023, there was huge operations against Al-Shabaab, and they lost tons of land. In 2025, they regained everything they lost during those counterterrorism operations. So anyway, a lot of people are getting very, very nervous because, locals on the ground are saying, it's in within 90 days. Who knows? Al-Qaeda's goal is to take it within 2026. It was a 2-year plan. We're now going in the second year. But as you can imagine, a lot of stuff's happening. Even the government's freaking out on people in the government. So people in the government are literally starting to make deals with Al-Shabaab. They're handing off money to them. So some of the money our government's giving to the Somali government is getting funneled and diverted to Al-Shabaab because they're thinking about their future. Right? If Al-Shabaab takes this over, if I don't start making a deal with them, I'm dead. So everybody's starting to think, what are we going to do if Al-Qaeda takes this country, sadly? And then people are starting to make deals and plans around it. It's a huge problem.
yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's a mess. And then there's a whole nother piece. Now, we have all this fraud in the United States.
What fraud?
Yeah, I know. And then, as you know, a lot of the remittances are going back to Somalia. A lot of people keep saying it's going to Al-Shabaab. It really isn't. Al-Shabaab is a multi-billion-dollar organization, but it's going to these Somali clans and tribes and even militias. Well, none of them are designated terrorist organizations.
Gotcha.
So if you don't stop the money here, you're not stopping the money going there because there's no law enforcement or precedence. So it's a crazy thing. So we can't exactly stop the money in the Somalia angle. We really got to end fraud here to deal with this, or our money's just going to keep going there.
I got news for you, Sarah. Never going to happen.
I know. It's
Never going to happen.
I mean, they build these government programs for fraud because also the people running them commit fraud against them, sadly.
The whole fucking government's a fraud operation.
I agree.
Give me some of the craziest things that have happened to you over the past year.
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. So, well, one of the funniest things is, so I have a friend from Iraq, and he reaches out to me one day, and he said, hey, did you know Hezbollah in Iraq has a bounty on you? And I was like, what? Because I know people after me. Al-Qaeda's after me. ISKP's after me. And I was like, Hezbollah in Iraq. I still don't know why. And he said, yeah, but it's even funnier. So there's a bounty, but then they also have a deal. If you want to collect the bounty, you can come to Iraq and have citizenship in a certain province. I was like, wow, this is sounding more appealing to somebody. Because, you got to make sure they're going to pay you. So anyway, so the funny part is by the end of the year, it kind of kept going like a lotto. And so it's now $350,000. So Boone's been joking, when it hits up to $1 million, we might want to think about this. Frauding it, right? Because, yeah, so anyway, so I have this massive growing bounty. And if you want to live in Iraq, you can collect on it. So, I mean, it's kind of a nice perk.
You don't seem worried.
Well, I have worse people. Remember, the number 2 of Al-Qaeda's military commission is trying to kill me. I think that's a little worse than Hezbollah in Iraq. No offense, Hezbollah. So that was a funny thing. And then I was in an ISKP video, which was super funny.
What, can we see the clip?
Yeah, I'll get it to you. Well, remember when I went on Chad's show, Robichaud? They took the clip of me talking, but because I'm a girl, I'm shaded out. So I had no idea as an ISIS video. And then this investigator in Netherlands, Peter, reaches out and said, hey, you're in an ISIS video. Because I never would have found it. My face is blurred out. But yeah, it's super funny. So the funny part is ISIS put the video out and they didn't know I was doing the operation. Remember I said, I did a whole year investigation. So they put this video out with me in it, which legitimizes me. Think about it. And then like a few months later, I released my whole ISKP report. So anyway, they now do have like monthly updates on my information going out. So it's super funny. But thanks for legitimizing me, ISIS. So that was a really funny one that occurred. And then, so I made an off-color joke about India and I got banned.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I mean, I guess I'll do it again, but I don't know. I don't know if you want your YouTube channel banned, so maybe I don't repeat the joke.
Tell me offline.
Okay, I'll tell you offline.
I don't want to get banned in India.
Yeah, it was just a joke about their Air Force. But anyway, it wasn't even that bad of a joke. But anyway, so I made a joke, and that's all I did. And then I get a message from Twitter that India's like Minister of like Information, the official title, has banned you in their country. So yeah, if you're in India, you can no longer see my content on X.
Wait, okay, what was the joke?
So
It was a joke about their Air Force and they banned you?
yeah, so India's been having a problem where they crash a lot of fighter jets or they come down. And I mean, it even happened in like just a exhibition. So anyway, it's this joke. I'm sorry. So somebody was talking about Bagram and about U.S. coming and bombing Bagram. I said, we're not planning to do that, but there's a huge attack being planned in India. So India will likely in the future come and bomb Bagram as retaliation if they don't crash their planes on the way. And then that was my one joke. And that's the only thing bad I said. So the funny thing is so I got banned in India for saying that they're going to try and crash a fighter
We're
jet.
not much better. I mean, just look at Boeing.
Yeah, we have
Except
Boeing.
they're killing all
Exactly.
the whistleblowers.
And I talk
Not
all the time.
The whistleblower shouldn't have said that. The whistleblowers are mysteriously dying.
They're dying of
reporting this.
unforeseen circumstances. Plus, I talk every day about Al-Qaeda taking down 12 airplanes in the United States. And I'm not banned in the United States. But yeah, so anyway, but that was really, really, it was kind of funny because I was like, where did this come out of? So we had to go figure out, because it said, we can't tell you why. And so I was like, I didn't even post about India. And so, yeah, and then it was just an off-color joke. But keep your planes up.
Man. And your phone got bugged.
No, it wasn't
You're on
bugged.
your way. You're on your way to getting
No,
banned.
it wasn't bugged. I actually was so they were bugging me, but like bothering me.
Oh shit! I was gonna say,
Don't start any rumors.
Good thing we got you that Glacier phone.
Yeah, good thing. No, so the thing
So
is,
you mean annoying you?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So the funny part is, so as you know, I've already told you I had these meetings with FBI. The Ryan Routh team, and then the January 6th expert and whomever, and then I always randomly have sent stuff to FBI's Benghazi team of rock stars. So FBI has perfect access to me. They've been to my house. But anyway, so in May, FBI shows up. Remember, I was working at the Air Force at my bosses in DC, my boss's bosses. Like people who might not even know who I am, right? And they show up and they're like, oh, we're having an issue with Sarah Adams. We want you to pull her clearance. And so it's my senior boss, and that senior boss literally is in charge of innovation, okay? So
Did you get your clearance pulled?
No, my clearance didn't get pulled. So I'll tell you, it's a funny story.
I was going to welcome you to the club.
Yeah. No, so he's smart and pulls in a lawyer. So him and a lawyer sit down with the FBI, and they're concerned, of course, and they're like, "Can you tell us why?" So they had nothing. They said, "Oh, we heard she said on a podcast she didn't share something with us," and my senior leader is like, "I know this girl has shared so many things with the government." So it's funny. They come back to me after, and they're like, "Can you tell us every agency you shared with in the last year or two?" And I went through, it was 15 organizations in the U.S. government I have shared information with in the last 2 years. So anyway, they have this whole meeting. FBI can't say anything clear to them. They're asking to get my clearance pulled. So my senior leaders then tell my boss, and they're like, it seemed political. Does someone not like her? What's going on? And so my boss tells me, I'm like, it's got to be Sebastian Gorka.
Oh, man.
I mean, who else? Who else is going to the FBI? Because remember, he was telling the National Security Council that I'm on drugs, that I'm putting out misinformation. He told them Scott Mann was like a financial scammer. So he's made up all these weird rules. So it was really funny. So I told my boss, that's the only
That
thing
guy
I
just
can think
can't
of.
win.
So I
Remember
don't know
what
if
he
it's
did to
him.
me?
It could have been
With the-
Patel, too.
Remember what he did to me with the Sam Shoemate thing?
Yeah.
He made it sound like we were making all this shit
I
up. It was
know.
a big psyop.
And then
the
Sam sent it
fucking
to 10 other guys.
and then the FBI comes out and says the fucking email was real.
I know.
And then that Ryan Macbeth dude, like I think he was an Army intel analyst, apologizes to me and says, I fucked up. I was wrong. And Sebastian Gorka, what's his position again?
Head of counterterrorism.
Yeah, head of counterterrorism.
Oh, now he's got a new
fucking
job.
reposts a post of a man who apologized to me for being wrong. And that's who's running the counterterrorism.
No, but Sebastian Gorka has a new job. I totally forgot.
Oh,
He's
what is
also
it?
the
You
head
get
of...
promoted?
He's a head of, like, aviation threats against the U.S. government or something
We got to put the tweet up. He tweets this shit, like, out there to me, like, I'm a fucking psyop or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He posted this new job update on LinkedIn. So
Oh, we'll put this stuff up.
So now I want to say for the record, I don't know for sure if this is Gorka, but Gorka did tell people I was on drugs, so that's fact. So it still could be Patel because he's so thin-skinned.
You're such a drug addict.
So yeah, I know, me.
Holy shit.
So anyway, so my bosses decided it was political, so they kind of left me alone on it. But it was really funny because they went overboard, like, oh, we should deal with stuff. So then they were like, oh, with your foreign contacts, you have to submit every foreign contact who's a dual national. So that was like some work. But anyway, nothing came of it, but it was, like I said, FBI's DC office showed up at mine. I'm like, they know where my house is. They've been to my house. Why did not just show up at my house? So they were trying to like shake me down a bit. Another thing is multiple times FBI's tried to come at me from different directions, as you can imagine, for our sources.
Oh, I would imagine.
Which we won't give them because they'll get them killed because they're idiots. But usually it's a ploy for our sources as well.
Jeez.
But anyway, yeah. So no, I didn't get my clearance pulled. But I don't even need it now. I work for the Shawn Ryan show. Right? I should get it pulled so we can do an episode on it.
You got to have a clearance to work here. No. This is my favorite thing in the outline, I think.
Oh, no.
You beat up a cop and some people at a hospital.
No.
What is that?
See, this is the problem, people, when you get hired somewhere. So I got hired, and then you brought on someone to work in my team. She's my producer, Diana. So Diana's like, oh, I want to get to know you, which I never should have believed this. And she's like, film it. So, film it and talk about yourself. And so it had all this stuff in it. So I bring up this story to her, and then now I have to talk about it because I filmed it. Because even if I don't say it now, you're just going to roll the clip. And so I don't trust you guys anymore. So now I got to tell this story because I told it to Diana, who I love. But so, no. So I did beat up a cop, but it wasn't exactly illegal. So what was happening is, it was actually a medical problem. So I was at CIA. So this was maybe like when you're in CIA, it's like post Osama bin Laden or before. So about 3 weeks after we captured Osama bin Laden. So we have a timeline. And so I'm at work, and I go to my boss and said, I'm feeling really weird, like my arm's not working and my head feels strange. And she's like, oh, you need to go home. So I go home, and I'm at home, and then I'm feeling okay. And 2 hours later, like parts of my body aren't even working. So I was like, I better go over to one of those clinic places. So I go to the clinic, and the lady's like, it sounds like you're having a stroke. I'm like, I'm not having a stroke. And she's like, well, it's gotta be. So she sends me to a hospital. I spend 4 days there, and they say it's not a stroke. You were attacked by migraines. I kid you not. I did tell you one story, though. Can I do a side story?
Yeah.
So I won't say the hospital because I don't want you to get sued again. So
Every time a FedEx letter shows up now, I tell the team, like, oh, for shit, we're getting sued.
You'll be sued. You'll be sued after
Yep,
this
we're
one.
getting sued.
You'll be sued after this one. So I was like, I'm just never going to go to the hospital again. Well, I'm doing my Benghazi investigation, okay? And there's this terrorist, and he's an Al-Qaeda member, long time a member of Al-Qaeda. He lives in Bosnia. He's Libyan, and he's the guy doing all the travel reservations to bring the terrorists that are injured in Libya to Europe. Because if you're injured in Libya and you're a terrorist, you're not going to go to the doctor in Libya, you're going to go to like France or Germany and go to get real medical care because, Al-Qaeda and ISIS get these perks. So he flies Al-Qaeda and ISIS members to Europe. So I did some looking into him, and one of his brothers works for the Libyan government. His other brother works in that hospital.
Holy shit.
Yeah, his brother literally works in the hospital.
Holy shit.
Who got me wrong, by the way. So I would not go to the hospital, but I won't say the name. So anyway, I go home. It's a few days later, and I decide to go to Target because nothing else to do in Northern Virginia. So I go to Target, and I'm actually talking to Boone because he's in Aden. He's in Yemen, right? So I'm on the phone with him, and all of a sudden I say to him, I don't know where I am. And he goes, you're going to Target. I said, fundamentally, I know I should know where I am, but I have no clue. He's like, pull over. So I pull over into like a business parking lot. And so this is end of May, beginning of June, after Bin Laden. And I start doing snow angels in the parking lot. There's no snow. So someone in the office building sees me.
Maybe Sebastian Gorka was right.
No. I'll tell you, there's a policeman assessment coming along here. So I'm doing snow angels. Apparently, I don't remember any of this. I'll tell you the parts I remember. And then, so the cops get called, and this cop shows up who's squared away because they thought maybe it was someone on drugs. He's like, she's definitely not on drugs. He can't control me because I beat him up. So he calls it backups, which is like some padded van. So I do remember this part. So I remember like some people like shoving me in a van, but that's like all I remember. So in my head, I'm probably thinking it's like terrorists or something. So they shove me in this van, and then they bring me to the local hospital, which is the county over for me. So luckily it's not the hospital the terrorist brother works in. So they go to this hospital, and I beat up 4 people going into the hospital. So they end up putting me under, and I had meningitis.
Oof.
Yeah. So I had Lyme's, and if you don't deal with Lyme's, it can become meningitis. This is something I learned, didn't know. And they didn't test for Lyme's in the county I lived in, but they figured this out. The next county does. So anyway, long story short. So I'm under for about 2 weeks, okay? So I get a visit. Someone from my work comes to visit. My mom tells me who's visiting, and then people start stopping by. Shawn. So I have no idea I beat up a cop or these orderlies. And so all these people start coming in who work in the hospital. I was super famous in the hospital. And they all come in, and I find out they all rewatched me again and again on the surveillance video in the hospital beating people up. So they're all like, oh, you're famous here. We're all so happy you're okay. Oh, we all want to meet you. So everybody in the hospital wanted to meet me because I beat up all these people in the hospital. And they all watched the video.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. It was so embarrassing. And then the other thing is, like, my mom didn't bring me bottoms, so I'm walking around the hospital famous with my butt hanging out everywhere. I'm like, Mom, like, I'm out of it. Put some boxers on me. Yeah. So anyway, so no, it's even funnier. So the cop takes my phone, and Boone is on it. And so Boone's like, I'm useless. I'm in Yemen. So he's like, call her mom. So the cop calls my mom and tells him I'm there. So my mom gets to Virginia and doesn't know how to get in my house. She literally calls the cop I beat up. Can you break me into my daughter's house? And he broke her in the back window.
Holy shit.
So good cop.
Oh, man.
The cop actually, later on when I came to my doctor, said the cop saved my life. I would have been dead within 30 minutes if he would have made a different decision, like brought me to the police station. So the funny part is, so I'm in the hospital like 2 weeks, and then I leave, but it's like a TBI. So I can think fine, but my body, so if I could say grab the water, so I would say it, but my hand would not do it or something. So for 2 weeks, I'm like crawling up and down the stairs in my house because I'm afraid to walk because there'll be times the foot and knee don't do what it's supposed to. So I'm like home, I can't drive. And then I'm finally able to drive and stuff. So I go into CIA 2 weeks part-time. So this is where it even gets funnier. So I go in 2 weeks, and then I finally can go back full-time. I'm normal again. And so I go back in that week, and they say, hey, we need to deploy people to Pakistan because after Bin Laden, that's when they sent all those people home. We need volunteers for Pakistan. So of course I said, I'll go to Pakistan. So my boss then gets this thing that I volunteer for Pakistan. And she's like, dude, you're just gone 3 months with meningitis. You're going to Pakistan?
Damn.
And she said, you can't go to Pakistan. You have a medical problem. I said, first off, my doctor was Pakistani, so I'll be just fine. And I said, and then I used the rules of CIA against her. Remember, the CIA, you go for your physical every, 5 years? And I said, I'm still in my physical window. You can't stop me from going. So then I deployed to Pakistan.
Nice.
Yeah, so I worked for a couple of weeks and then I went to Pakistan. Yeah, it was crazy. So
Oh shit, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I beat up a cop and did not get in trouble for it, and he broke into my house. I actually, if he's watching this, I'd like him to reach out to me because I have no idea who he is.
I hope he does. I'll
Yeah.
bet that happens.
Yeah, I'll come brief your department on the Homeland threat.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right, what's this Disney thing?
Disney.
Doing a Disney show or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, now...
You're like, oh yeah.
Well, it wasn't Disney. Disney pissed up. You know, I worked at Disney in college.
I didn't.
Yeah, that was my job. I was like that annoying person when you walked in the gate and I took your family photo.
Holy
That
shit.
was me, man. Do you have any of those?
I don't.
Oh, you're one of those people who don't buy them. We work on commission, man.
One of those people that don't
Let's
buy.
put me through college. Gosh, maybe a year and a half ago now, I got contacted because there was a CIA series being put together, and it's called Inside CIA: Secret and Lies. And it was going through a number of different CIA operations, and they were bringing the different CIA officers who worked them to explain to the public how the operations worked. So I got called about a terrorist named Mullah Daduda Lang. I think you know him. He was famous for anyone who worked in Afghanistan. So I'm in that episode. So I'm not like a star of the show or anything. So I'm in the episode on him, but it's really cool because it's about the people who did spy ops, which I love spy ops. So anyway, that comes out the end of February, and Disney and Hulu picked it up. So it should be
That's awesome.
airing on that. Yeah, so it'd be fun. The funny thing is, and I hope I make
When did
him...
you say it comes out?
I hope I make him worried. I think it's February 26th. It's super soon.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the funny part is, so I'm in the episode for Mullah Daduda Lang, but I'm actually working and targeting his son right now.
Wow.
So I wasn't doing it when I filmed it. So his son's name is Raybar, and his son is working on the U.S. Homeland plot because we killed his father. A lot of people are forgetting the second generation is coming after us. And there's, in Afghanistan, there's like core Al-Qaeda, right? Like the Bin Laden, the leadership. And then there's AQIS as the group that targets India. But then they made a whole new branch. It's called Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And when you hear, and I bet Legend says it, like Al-Qaeda's making all these camps in Panjshir. That's the element of Al-Qaeda, building all the terrorist camps in Panjshir because they want to kill all the Tajiks and push them out and take Panjshir. But he's in that group of Al-Qaeda, which is interesting. So we don't even, our government doesn't even work on that branch of Al-Qaeda yet. And it's been operational for years. So anyway, I work against his son.
Wow.
Which is funny. Can't get rid of these people. I'm almost 50 and I'm still working these fools, so I'm going to retire soon.
Jeez. Oh, man. How's Masood doing?
So,
I've not heard anything out of the NRF.
Well, I mostly track on
Wow.
Amrullah Saleh because he's the one that kind of puts out the intel side of things. I'm less on the fighter side. Now, there's 2 units on the ground in Afghanistan. So there's the NRF and then the Afghanistan Freedom Front, AFF. And they're the 2 that are like blowing up Taliban checkpoints and those type of things. So they have constant ongoing operations, and they sometimes are doing joint. They might say this was NRF or AFF, but it might be a joint operation. So they're doing constant operations, but it's like 1, 2, 5, 6 Taliban. It's not like they're hitting the GDI headquarters or
Gotcha.
something. So they're still moving along, but as you can imagine, the resistance has to have some sort of external backing, even if it's like a Tajikistan. And it just doesn't happen because you cannot take on the Taliban with being backed by the U.S. government. We give the Taliban so much money, so much legitimacy. No one's going to take out the Taliban until we cut off the money. And they all know this.
I mean, if they hit us in the home plan plot and the Taliban takes credit, we would still fund them.
Yeah, but they won't take credit. AQAP is going to take credit, and we're just going to cover it bomb Yemen. Yeah, but we'll still fund them. I mean, Hamas, all those leaders of Hamas, remember, they're like, this Hamas leader lives in Qatar, and he's worth $30 billion, and this one's worth $8 billion. they are worth that much money because U.S. government put that money into them. Like, it's like, guys, Hamas didn't make that money on their own. It's all money from the U.S. government going into them. So it's a very frustrating thing. Like, I just wish, I want to stop every penny to Afghanistan. Because as you know, if you say, oh, I'm going to stop this bucket, they'll be like, well, we got to do humanitarian, we got to do this. And once we hand them the money, we don't know where it goes. Yeah. So that's why it has to be like a dead zero. Somalia's got to be zero. Like, Gaza, zero. And now we're going to invest in, have you seen the Gaza plan?
Looks like they're going to turn it into a resort.
Yeah. Besides that, I mean, yeah, that. So when you look at there's a whole PowerPoint. I actually wish I had the numbers off the top of my head. So there's one PowerPoint about how much it's going to cost. It's like billions. There's billions for security. There's billions to build the buildings, blah, 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 blah. But what I'm hearing out of terrorist circles, so our government, so in that briefing, I think Kushner, but also Witkoff is saying it. They're saying, we're going to disarm Hamas in 100 days. Have you heard this?
I've heard a lot of things that never happened.
So this just recently came up. So we're going to disarm Hamas in 100 days. So there's chatter that at the 60-day mark, there's going to be a huge government press release and say, okay, Hamas, you have 60 days. Well, what they're doing behind the scenes is they're telling Hamas, hey, we're going to roll you into the security forces, into the military, thousands of you. So we're going to pretend we took the weapons from Hamas and we're going to make them the heads of the police and the heads of the military. And they're going to run all that in Libya like we did in Tripoli. So in Tripoli, I'm sorry, that was Gaza. In Tripoli and Libya, we did the exact same thing. We let Al-Qaeda take over all those institutions and lead them. So we're doing the exact same thing in Gaza. Hamas is going to run the entire security sector, and no one's being honest about it. So we're going to tell American people we disarm them. It's peace. And we're going to give them a nicer place, put billions of dollars of investment into them. And we're going to make a terrorist group 1,000 times more powerful.
The whole thing was a real estate play, wasn't it?
I mean, it's a whole lot of things. I mean, remember, we can't ignore the fact this was a planned Al-Qaeda Iranian attack. And remember, that was a dress rehearsal for the Homeland attack. And I think everybody keeps forgetting that because this anti-Israel stuff, what they did in October 7th, they plan to do here worse. And we have to take that serious because Israel did not take any of this serious. They got some of the info, and I know some people who gave them info about the terrorist training in Afghanistan, but they thought it was a smaller incursion, one they could take care of. They never thought, it ended up being about 7,500 terrorists that infiltrated at one time, 7,500. And we know we have 18,000 here. So we have a lot of Americans not taking that attack serious when that was a first phase, and our Homeland attack is another phase of this. And there's other phases, like I told you, India's after ours. But these are massive scale attacks being planned. And nobody is taking it to the terrorists because they're focused on they're talking about Israel or, it's like.
I mean, when you see what happened there, it's pretty fucking bad. I mean, we spent a long time in war zones.
Right.
I've never seen destruction like that. The entire fucking place is gone.
They did the exact same thing. So that's how you got rid of Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Benghazi. Exact same operation Israel did. Israel did on a larger scale. You do neighborhood by neighborhood. You make them evacuate and you go in. And this is unfortunately how you have to get the terrorists. We don't have the stomach to go after terrorists that way.
Is that how they're going to do it here?
So, they're not
take it neighborhood by neighborhood.
I'm just telling you,
everybody and just decimate the whole fucking country.
I'm just telling you.
I'm all about killing terrorists.
There's a lot of misinformation coming out of Gaza. A ton of those videos are from Syria. Remember, I worked Syria. A ton of Gaza videos I've seen. I'm like, guys, this is Syria, 2020, 2012, 2013, 2014. There is a lot of misinformation out of Gaza. There's a ton of misinformation currently out of Syria. So you also have to really be careful with this misinformation, especially those numbers there was not 60,000 children killed. So we have to be honest about who's also feeding us misinformation because that benefits the terrorists. Remember, the only people winning in all this is the terrorists. Hamas is getting more. Muslim Brotherhood is getting more popular. Al-Qaeda got Syria. Taliban got Afghanistan. Every year, the people winning are the terrorists, and nobody's talking about it. They're talking about Israel.
Even if you're right, we're not a serious country because we're fucking paying the terrorists.
Right.
So you can't tell me that going and carpet bombing fucking Gaza is going to solve shit when we're sitting here. I mean, that's where the flag came from Legend. $87 million a week to the fucking Taliban. How much to Somalia? Like all these, like we can't just go there and fucking carpet bomb everybody.
Right, but
we're not even being serious. We're not even being serious. We're still fucking paying these people to kill us.
I know, but at the end of the day, you also, so if you're American, they say you can't go into Afghanistan after 9/11. Like, who are you to say Israel can't go in and hunt down? 7,500 terrorists are very hard to find. Like, who are you to say you can't go in and get the people who did this to you? Like, that's another issue. Like, we can't on one side do what we want and then be the morality police on the other side because we don't like the person doing it. I had this problem so much as you can imagine in Libya. Because remember, the person who went after my attackers is a warlord, according to the press. He's not. He loves his country. He's a patriot to his country, General Haftar. Well, General Haftar went in heavy, obviously trying not to kill civilians, but he went in heavy on those terrorists, and there's people who have him up for war crimes for it. Well, I don't think he committed one damn war crime, right? He was very effective. His city was controlled by terrorist groups, and now there's not even an indoctrination camp in the entire city. That's how successful he was. But in the ICC, he's got charges for war crimes. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody has a different view of how this is done, and everybody says their way is better, but there's only very few victories. He's a victory. So what do you call that then? Because honestly, at the end of the day, the thing I care about most with terrorists is you don't get the second and third generation. In Benghazi, we don't have to worry now there's a second and third generation. He ended that. We're not ending that. Afghanistan, second generation is 1,000 times bigger than the first generation. We're screwed with what's coming out of Afghanistan. We are so screwed what's coming. It's so much bigger than it was on 9/11.
Good point.
So you have to sometimes do things with a heavy hand. Now, with Hamas, you can't do with a heavy hand because half the international community supports them, backs them, finances them, funds them. Remember, Hamas has been...
And you're saying we're putting them in charge of shit.
Well, also,
So
and
it's
Hamas has been reestablishing
joke.
in a dozen camps in Afghanistan. So they're in Afghanistan camps, training, no one's bombing them. So the problem with Hamas is they get so much support from the international community. They're only going to be stronger and more powerful. Like, we're not going to be able to get rid of Hamas because
Even
there's
the
so
fact
many.
that you're saying, you know, like, it's just, went in there, we did that, we decimated the place. In your mind, it's justified.
Because it's not as decimated as you think. A lot of that isn't.
So we go in there, we do this shit, we fuck all these kids up and innocent people. And then we put the people that we went in to go kill and destroy that did October 7th in charge of the place.
That's what we do.
So what? So we can do it again?
Yeah.
Was that fucking on purpose? So we can go do it again?
A lot of our government is pro-Islamist. I know it's a bad way to say pro-Muslim Brotherhood. And as long as Muslim Brotherhood puts money in the pockets of our politicians, we're always going to have these deals. You got to remember, these kids in Gaza, Hamas took over in 2006. Their entire education system is terrorist training. Like that the second and third generation in Palestine, you're screwed already. Like, did you see any plans from Kushner then for de-radicalization programs? Zero. Like, we have people making decisions on what to do in these places that don't even understand terrorism. They don't even understand the people there and what's going to happen and what they're going to do. That's why Egypt, Jordan don't want to.
They don't give a fuck because it's beachfront property.
It's about money. Yeah. Remember, the terrorism fight made people a ton of money. We were done in Afghanistan in 2 months. We should have pulled out of Afghanistan 2 months later. We were done. We've toppled the Afghan government. Bin Laden moved to Pakistan. There was zero reason to stay in Afghanistan one more day later, but it made people a lot of money.
All right. I got you something I forgot to give you.
You got me something.
Yeah.
What's this? I don't recognize this bag.
That's right. Something new.
Someone made a comment in one of my posts about s'mores, and I thought it was code. I was like, I don't know what the Shawn Rhimes s'mores are, so I'm not going to respond. I'm trying it.
Oh,
wait.
It's like crack.
Oh, I wait for Shawn Rhimes now. I can have drugs. So, you know what's funny? For my birthday one year, I went to Peru and did the whole Machu Picchu thing, and they give you a drink, and I didn't know the drink was like cocaine or whatever. So I did have cocaine when I was at the CIA. But Not purposefully.
Oh, shit. What do you think about this Havana syndrome stuff?
I know, very concerned. This is good. I think one of your interviews got hit with Havana syndrome. Do you know about that? We'll do
Say
that off
that again?
record. One of your interviews.
Oh, yeah, that Mark...
No. Not Mark. One of your actual interviews. The one you did in Vienna, I think you guys got hit by Havana syndrome.
Why do you think that?
I'll tell you off record by someone in your crew that I thought got hit on the team.
Someone in my crew?
Well, someone with you then, when you did Masood. I think it was a target on Masood. Anyway, Havana syndrome's real. Very concerning. As you saw, the oldest person with Havana syndrome just died.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, he died like a week ago. He's had it since the late 90s.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So,
Did you always think this was a real thing?
100%.
No shit.
Because I know people with Havana syndrome. And the thing is, you have to remember, Havana syndrome isn't something that just affects everybody. It's targeted at the best and brightest in our government. And it's only really been targeted certain places, right? We got Cuba, Vienna, DC. And I've always thought it was Russia. You know, even when I went, remember how I worked the airlines for a few years? I worked JetBlue. And JetBlue was using one of the hotels that I knew agency people were targeting. And I told them, I said, I believe in Havana syndrome. I'm very concerned about this. I don't want any of your crew members being targeted, being near them. And they actually banned the hotel from use. So they listened to me and cared and don't put their people in that hotel, which is what everybody should do. You should care about your people. Our government is not caring about their people, and they're putting them back in these environments, and then someone else gets hit with it, and someone else gets hit with it, and someone else.
Sir, if you want to know what the government thinks about our people, just look at the veteran population.
I know. So I'm very concerned about Havana syndrome because, like I said, it's so easy to take out the best people that way. And there's no repercussions. Our government's never done anything against Russia for it.
I thought it was always questionable, and then this Venezuela thing, would Trump call it
that thing?
the discombobulator or
The
something?
discombobulator. Yeah, I don't know if the discombobulator is Havana syndrome, because remember, we have things like...
Sounds like an energy weapon, though.
We have super high frequency things. You know, like, I don't know, if someone tries to go maybe on a nuke base or something. You know, we have, the super high things, and then you could use on a crowd, too, protesters, and then
yeah,
can't move.
I mean, a lot of when I did the
those.
anti-piracy shit,
those things.
the poor Brits that were on other ships, we had guns. They have like little satellite things that'll blast you with a sound wave.
Yeah.
That didn't work well for them back then. But.
Yeah, so the sound waves have always existed in some form. I mean, did Trump use Havana syndrome? Who knows? But most of the community believes it exists. The problem is the CIA has not given up a lot of the information they know about it. There's not like a joint community effort to really solve it. And because the government hasn't wanted to be honest about it, I swear sometimes I think it's so they don't have to pay people. It's like it just continues. So you have to worry. I had a friend decide not to go to Vienna because they're like, I don't want to go serve there for 2 years and risk Havana syndrome. So it's a frustrating thing too, because I know people who left the CIA because they didn't want to risk Havana syndrome. I know people in the CIA who their whole life and career was ended because they have it.
Wow.
Because it affects your central nervous system, and if it's really extreme, like you can't really think, you have trouble kind of talking and walking, like people are in disability from it.
Did the guy die from Havana syndrome?
Yeah.
That's
the problem is with Havana syndrome, it'll then affect you in other ways. It gives you cancers and stuff like that. And I think he died from one of the cancers from his Havana syndrome.
Holy shit.
So, and that's a whole nother thing. How many cancers we have in the military and in the CIA? I mean, it's astronomical if anyone sat down and put it together. And then where did all the cancers come from? Because the percentage is much more higher than the normal Americans living in their towns.
Oh, I remember being in Kabul in the wintertime, and they burn tires and shit and anything they could find to keep warm. And I remember just spitting in my sink, and my spit was gray.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I know tons of people who's dead from
out
cancer,
here.
and I'm in my 40s, and they're in their 40s.
oh man.
And we had a younger
You worry about that stuff?
CIA girl die. She was like my age. I don't know her, but she's friends with another friend. But she died of Havana syndrome, I think, last year.
Holy shit! I didn't realize people were dying from this.
Yep, yeah.
Fuck, man.
So
Are you going to do an episode on that?
I can do an episode on Havana syndrome. Love to.
That would be interesting. We got one coming up pretty soon that's going to be really good.
Oh, you're bringing someone on who has it? Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yep. But, well, Sarah, as always, fascinating interview. Unfortunately, fucking enraging too. But, man, thank you for coming. Thank you for all the info. And we'll be watching the watch floor.
Okay.
So,
Yep,
cheers.
tune in. Thanks.
No matter where you're watching the Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this at all, anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, head to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a review.